Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to your Pontiac City Council meeting for Tuesday, July 2nd, 2023. Welcome and thank you so much for your time. Buenos días y bienvenidos a la reunión del Consejo Municipal de Pontiac. Agradecemos su tiempo y atención. We are now called to order, and for this evening's invocation, I don't see Councilman Parker this evening. Is there a member of the audience who's willing to volunteer to do the... All right. Well, the American Civil Liberties Union really frowns upon members of the body, legislative body, doing the invocation, but hey, it's July. Happy Independence Day. Councilman Rutherford, take it away.
We can all bow our heads, please. God, we just thank you for this opportunity to serve this city well. We ask that we be on one accord. We ask that we have the right mindset, the right focus, and that we make it about the people and truly about this community. Let everybody who at the time of my breath be blessed. In Jesus' name we say amen.
Amen. All right, please rise for a pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We now as a community hold a moment of silence for those neighbors who we've unfortunately had to say goodbye to. And we know that many friends, family, neighbors pass, and we don't always learn about it. So if a name is not included, please feel welcome to always share that for a future moment of silence as a community. We offer the names this evening of Dwayne Bilbo, Mildred Gully, Jesse Jackson, Marty Coons, Walden Strite, and Laveda Wright Nelson. Please join us as a community for a moment of silence. Thank you. Roll call, City Clerk of Council members.
Carrington.
Present.
Goodman. James.
Here.
McGinnis.
Present.
Nicholson. Parker. Rutherford.
Present.
Mr. President, you have a quorum.
All right, quorum is established. Could we please have a motion to excuse Councilman Parker from this evening's meeting for personal reasons and wishing him a very happy wedding anniversary?
Moved by Carrington.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Pro Tem Carrington, seconded by Councilman James. The motion before us is excusing Councilman Parker from this evening for personal reasons, since he let us know he would not be here. Roll call, Clerk Doyle.
Carrington.
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. Councilman Parker is excused. Is there a motion to approve this evening's consent agenda?
Moved by Carrington.
Support. It's been moved by Pro Tem Carrington and seconded by Councilman Goodman. That is before us. It includes the meeting minutes from last week's regular meeting, the meeting minutes from last week's special meeting held on the 28th, the regular meeting being on the 25th, and then the items from the consent agenda last week. It was voted on, of course, but there wasn't a proper motion in a second, so we're bringing those items forward just to make super sure that they are adopted and fully in effect. So those are, bless you. Those are the items on the consent agenda. Roll call, Clerk Doyle on adoption and approval of the consent agenda.
Goodman.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
All right, that motion carries. The consent agenda is approved. We are at our special presentation this evening, of which there is one. I want to just answer a question that was posed to City Council leadership, though. Per the state of Michigan law, our council meetings do not allow for campaigning when it comes to candidates for public office, proposals statewide or otherwise. And so questions are sometimes asked of, why didn't you intervene or stop somebody's public comment when they were advocating for or against an election of an association or a union, or for that matter, I just want to let you know, we won't be delving into that. That's a public comment that is not seen as in violation of the state law. If you want to spend your time on public comment advocating for or against a PTA president or who should be the Boy Scout den leader or any other entities that don't qualify in state law, have at it. But that's why we would intervene and intercede, so that way the city council proceedings aren't being used to advocate for or against a candidate for statewide, federal, county, local office, and then proposals as well. That's an important distinction now because the special presentation tonight is about a ballot proposal that'll be in front of all of Pontiac, or at least all those who are delving into voting. So this is an informational presentation. It can share the pros and cons, but it cannot be an active advocacy or an urging or extorting or extolling the virtues of the ballot proposal, or for that matter, opposing the ballot proposal. And I imagine that members of the public may want to weigh in the weeks to come. I would just encourage you, by all means, weigh in, pros and cons, but avoid that final step of saying, and that's why, neighbors, I need you to vote X or Y. That's the part that'll get tricky, and hopefully we're all on the same ground there, but council leadership and the clerk and all the city council members, we're here to help get through it together and avoid any crisis. How about that? So with that more technical housekeeping matter, as you are likely aware, the next election for the city of Pontiac is the first Tuesday in August. I believe it's Tuesday, August 6th, 2024. There are no city elections on that ballot, but there is a city proposal. And so the city's Charter Revision Commission has requested an opportunity to spell out for the community what their recommendation or what they have submitted for the state, and that received that procedural approval, and now it is before the voters to render a verdict on whether or not that charter will be enacted. So that's on the August 6th ballot, and I'll just point out, many Pontiac residents are just now getting their ballot in advance of August. If you vote absentee or are going to take advantage of the early voting options, it's up to and including August 6th. You have that legal right to vote prior to that as well. So without further ado, I give the floor to Jose Ibarra III from the Pontiac Charter Revision Commission for a presentation about the contents of the charter revision question that is posed to the people of Pontiac.
Mr. President?
Yes.
We need to approve the agenda.
Oh, okay. I crossed off the list as if we had done it. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda this evening?
So move. Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Goodman, seconded by Council Pro Tem Carrington. The matter before us is this evening's council agenda. Is there any amendments, discussion, clarification? Hearing none, roll call. Clerk Doyle on the adoption of the agenda for this evening.
James?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Rutherford? Carrington?
Yes.
Goodman?
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries, and apologies for going right to consent agenda from the agenda. We are now at that special presentation. Commissioner Jose Ibarra III, and I know there's other Charter Revision Commissioners present, so you have the floor. And you won't be able to do it from there. You'll need to do it from the podium just for the sake of the camera. And more importantly, the audio, so that way those at home and those watching the recording afterward can hear you.
I apologize. It appears the laptop has turned off.
The IT department reports to the mayor.
We've got two of our IT experts here, and they are working on the problem as we speak.
All right, the show must go on. We are going to move to recognition of elected officials, and then we could pivot back to the special presentation without objection from council members. Are there any oh, voila. Here we go. All right, special presentation, second bite at the apple.
Thank you, President McGinnis. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jose Ibarra. I am joined here with Commissioner Brian Killian, Commissioner Norbert Burrows. We are here to discuss the charter revision proposal that we have created and would like to present to the community. Here's what you need to know.
Pivoting once more, are there any current elected officials not on the Charter Revision Commission that would like to give an update on their position? All right, no takers. We are now at agenda address. Pro Tem Carrington, are there any requests for agenda address tonight?
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. Dr. Deirdre Waterman.
Actually, my agenda address was going to address the presentation, special presentation. So I'll have to presuppose what they're going to tell us and make my comments. I was going to comment about the proposed charter revision that we're waiting to get the special presentation on. And it would be good to get a special presentation because, as we know, people have already gotten their ballots. The people get absentee ballots, and this charter provision proposals on there, and there hasn't been a lot of education up until now of the charter the charter revision commissioners about what's in there, and it is a pretty long and complicated and very important document for the city. So these are the things that I hope that the charter revision commissioners will cover. And they did come to my district meeting, one of the people, not one of the commissioners who's here, but someone else, and he spoke very quickly. He said about 5 minutes. And I don't know why he said it quite this way, but he tended to think that there was not a lot of acceptance for the charter revision. He said, well, just vote for it anyway. The other one's old, and if you don't like it, you can change it. And I think that that is a wrong take to take. This is the Constitution of our city. This is the Bible of our city. So it's very important that people know what's in it and what they're agreeing to. And I hope what they will include, one of the main things that is being changed, a lot of the things that they considered were not passed. They were thrown out by the city attorney or by the state. But one of the main things is that they're going to propose that we redistrict the whole city, change the districting, divide the city up, and change the whole format of that. And if you change that, that can't be easily undone. So I hope they will explain the reason for doing that, and it's just one sentence here on the document that was sent out in the mail, and I think we should have
That does conclude your time.
a better understanding of that proposal.
Thank you. Next up.
Ms. Billy Swazer.
And who follows Ms. Swazer after that?
Mr. Carlton Jones, he's not in the room, but we're early.
Hello, I'm Billy
Mr. Arlene
Swazer,
Clark and Gloria.
and I'm here. One of the things I would like to talk about is this charter revision. You know, if it was important, we would have got it before now. We got words and not a document. The document is 48 pages. It's back here, but it's 48 pages. If you cared enough about Pontiac, you could have cared enough to make sure we got it before I got my ballot. Because if you're asking me to vote for something, sight unseen, just by word of mouth, I'm going to vote, but it's not going to be for it. Because you need to do better than that. And if you're the Charter Revision Committee and you thought you needed to let the citizens know, you should have took the time to make sure we knew We've had council meetings every week, I believe, since the beginning of the year. And you know what you had agreed to. So you should have did better than this. If this is the best you can do, it's not good enough. I want to vote for the mayor, and I want to vote for 7 council people. I do not want to have it divided up afterwards and find out, well, it's going to be a mess, and y'all going to do whatever y'all want to. But y'all do whatever you need to do, and stop me from talking or whatever, but I'm going to tell you, I'm telling all my neighbors, make sure you read your ballots and make sure you vote, because this election, just like all elections, is important. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Swayzer. Ms. Darlene Clark.
Good afternoon, Council, Administration, and Clerk. I can say this because I am not a public official. Do not vote for that ballot.
That's the point. We can't use the city council meeting to advocate
Oh, you
for or
can't
against
do
it.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Can I? Okay.
I've stopped the clock. You can regain a few seconds.
Okay. So I was putting on notice. This charter is the heart, as you know, of the city of Pontiac. It's not only the heart, it gives the taxpayers the power to make decisions with their council to get the job done. If we move forward with this charter is going to give the administration more power than they have today. That's something you do not want to do. This charter was made in such a hurry. And let me tell you, making rules, you have to take your time. You have to take your time and dot every I and cross every T to make sure that the residents of Pontiac are being involved. This is our city. This is not a plantation. We are not to be governed by the administration. We are to be governed by the law of our city. In making this charter, you're sitting here with I'm not trying to disrespect the board by no means. The thought was not put in there. When you read the charter, the legal advice was not put in there. When a charter is a map, it's rules. You can amend the charter, but you can't wipe a charter out. Amend means you can add to it. So whatever the federal government has sit there to put in place, you can exercise the power to straighten it out. This charter here, that's not what it's doing. Only 2 people had a voice, in my opinion. I've only been to 3 meetings. In each meeting that I went to, only 2 people had the power and the control. That was Tamika Ramsey and that was Kermit Williams. Both I did not agree with. Both have failed the system in trying to protect the people. Both people did not leave their fellow council people to give a view and opinion what should be done. It was done too short.
That does conclude your time.
Ms. Gloria Miller.
Good evening, everyone. So we can't tell them how to vote. So City of Pontiac, I'm voting no. I think you understand what I mean. First of all, this is why. And first I want to say, and it's not many of them, but I will say, it's many people on that charter commission I really respect. This is not personal. This is business. First of all, it was done too fast. They had to rush. And by being on the council myself, see, I know, because I've been on the council myself, like right now, we got Mr. Nicholson not here and not even been held accountable. He doing what he want to do. He better be glad I'm not in 2. Then he has to resign.
Order in the chamber, please.
He has to resign.
Order in the chamber.
He has to resign. And speaking of his sick, we had 2 people on the council when I was on it that passed away, George Williams and Don Woodward. What did we do as a council? They had to go. I went to Don and asked him, would you resign? You can't do this job. It's any job. I can't go to General Motors and say I'm sick and not be held accountable. I got to take a sick leave. My heart, anybody that know me, I got the biggest heart in the world. But this is business. There's people in District 2 is suffering. for you guys won't make a move. And you're going to pay the price for it. Not just Brett, because Brett probably not going to run again. Don't get me wrong, I pray for him. But someone needs to be in that seat. District 2 is not big. And then you're talking about a charter, and you want to give the mayor and the deputy mayor, right now you don't do what we tell him. Hell no, we're not going to do this. It's a lot of things in this charter. It's only one good thing in it, I'll have to say, former Councilwoman Waterman, is that we meet twice a month, because it's a lot. You do need to meet everyone. Other than that, people read the charter. And like I said, I'm voting no.
Please do not use city council meetings to advocate for or against.
Like you said, I'm voting no. You said don't advocate for no one else, right?
That's a pretty blurry line you're blurring there. Does that conclude?
Thank you, Ms. Miller. That concludes agenda address, unless Carlton Jones, he's not here yet. So.
Okay. Thank you very much for allowing us to pivot so that way we can respect everyone's time. We're now again at special presentation. We give the floor to the Pontiac Charter Revision Commission.
Good evening, President McGinnis, Pro Tem Carrington, Mayor Grimel, and City Council members, and the clerk. Thank you so much for allowing us to present today. I'm glad we got to go after
Order in the chambers.
To stop some of this misinformation that was just spread. But I'm very excited to be here. I thank the viewing audience that is here. And I also want to thank our chairperson, Tamika Ramsey, for all the hard work, and my colleagues
Order
behind me.
in the chambers. I've stopped the clock. Charter Revision Commission has the floor, and they alone.
I don't understand. So I want to kind of address some things, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jose, who's done a phenomenal job. This charter, by any means, is not perfect. One of the people just came up and talked about how if a council person is vacant for a set number of time, there is no ramifications from the city council on how to remove that person. The new charter has that in it. But a lot of people have made up their mind before they even read it in order to get there. How did we get to a charter revision? It's been 41 plus years since there was a charter. The charter is 4 months older than me. And so clearly I don't have any hair now, so you know what that means. It's old, it's outdated, and it needs some tweaking. I've been going to the gym. We made sure that this charter went to the gym and got some real things that the citizens needed. This is a citizen-first charter. Some of the points that you're going to hear today is all with citizens in mind. We've added citizens to a lot of the boards, to the election commission, and other things to make that happen. One of the things I want to say before I turn it over to Jose is get a copy of the charter, read it for yourself. Some people don't want change because they've already been able to work the system in the way that it's been working for 40 years. And we have to make sure that we have a Pontiac that can stand for the next 40 years. And the only way we do that is by updating the charter. I know that there's pieces that you don't like. When I started the charter, I thought we should change the whole form of government. But this is like 9 people making a pizza. So everybody voted. 3+ years ago, the citizens of Pontiac elected the Charter Revision Commission. We're not sitting here authoritarian all on our own. This was a vote of the people. Over 3 years, we met over hundreds of hours toiling over the charter, inviting people to meetings, and some of the people who have the most objection didn't take an opportunity to even come to a meeting. And now that the document is made, now they want to Monday morning quarterback, which is their right. But I know that they're only one vote. But I know that the greater citizens of Pontiac are going to do not only the responsible thing, but the thing that's most dedicated. So I want to bring up Jose. Let's clap for him.
Thank you, Vice Chair Williams. And he basically kicked off laying the groundwork of the charter revision. So officially we did spend over 984 hours. That's 41 days officially on the books. That does not include the 360 hours that was spent with individual research and subcommittees that were established internally. Why are changes needed in our current charter? Well, the Charter Commission believes changes are needed because the current charter has been the same since 1982 and doesn't meet today's needs. The city has faced many legal challenges due to unclear or outdated provisions. Updating the charter will make governments more efficient and responsive. These changes will increase the transparency and accountability in the government. Overall, we discovered the 1982 charter was a government-first charter, and our focus was to create a citizens-first charter. Are your taxes going to be automatically raised? No. Here are the key points. With the property tax levy, the city determines the amount needed from property taxes to cover its expenses, pay debts, and other necessary costs. With the tax limit, the city can charge up to $10 for every $1,000 of your property's value in taxes each year. Additionally, there are extra taxes of up to $1.50 per $1,000 for improvements and another $2 per $1,000 for fire expenses. The new charter outlines how property taxes can be set and limit on those taxes, but it does not automatically increase your taxes. Any changes will require proper city approval. How does the proposed charter ensure ongoing revisions and improvements? Well, this charter proposal is not intended to be the final answer. A charter review board has been incorporated into this revision proposal. The charter review board will establish every 5 years or as needed, included immediately upon the adoption of this charter. Once the charter passes, a charter review board can be immediately created. Further details about this charter will be discussed later in the presentation, but it's important to understand that this is not the end. I know a lot of people really expected a perfect charter, but if we don't make the first step into making revisions in the charter, this city will not grow. Alrighty, so we're going to talk about ensuring greater ethics and transparency. So this is the creation of general ethical standards in which we have included in the charter revision proposal. The subsection includes ethical standards applied to all public city servants, in which there's an example underneath that. This goal is to prioritize public interest and prevent conflicts. Maintenance of supporting city ordinances. There are prohibitions neglecting duties and misusing information. There are restrictions with personal financial interest and proper influence, and rules ensure transparency, integrity, and governance. In this section as well, we created lobbying, registration, and reporting. Lobbyists must register and report activities, documentation with city clerk, publicly accessible, plus electronic publication. Lobby is subject to fee determined by ordinance, and system fosters transparency, accountability, and lobbying. There's a subsection that talks about gifts and gratuities, which includes public servants cannot accept gifts from certain entities, gifts from family allowed if not bypassing rules, of course, and provisions ensure integrity, prevent conflicts of interest. I apologize if I'm skipping bullet points. I am on a time limit. Created 1 year post-employment prohibition, 1 year post-employment restriction for public servants, prohibited from lobbying or appearing before city bodies, cannot join entities with past city business ties. Prohibition maintains integrity and public trust. Created contracts, voidable and rescindable, subsection. Contracts can be voided for the undisclosed public servant's interest, voidable if prohibited gifts offered in contract connection. Clauses ensures transparency, prevents conflicts in contracts. We also created a campaign subsection, which establishes the rules for campaigns, such as city property use, for campaigns strictly forbidden, of course, coercion for campaign support forbidden for employment, and of course, rules ensure professionalism, impartiality, and resource integrity. We also created the Public Integrity Office. This establishment is an independent office established for Pontiac, headed by the Public Integrity Officer, which we'll talk about soon. This office ensures honesty and integrity in the city government, and this aims to root out the waste, abuse, fraud, and corruption internally rather than battling out in the legal court, if you will. So the appointment of the Public Integrity Officer, they are appointed for a 6-year term. Appointment requires city council majority with the mayor's concurrence. Removal requires 3/4 of the city council vote, and vacancy filled within 90 days for the new term. Minimum qualifications are established. Must possess an associate's degree from an accredited institution, 5 years of experience in specific areas, which is explained: law enforcement, government attorney, public defender, supervisory roles, and ability to collaborate with law enforcement and judiciary. So the limitations: for-profit occupations require Board of Ethics approval. Cannot hold other government offices beyond appointed role, must adhere to conflict of interest rules in the charter, and barred from holding elective city office for 2 years post-tenure. Couple of powers and duties in this for the office, or for the Public Integrity Officer: investigates misconduct within city programs and operations, oversees transition process between city officials, audits and reviews city agencies for legal and ethical compliance, refers cases with probable cause to prosecuting authorities. With this position does come independence, retaliation, confidentiation, and immunity. So the Public Integrity Officer function independently and report to the Board of Ethics. Cooperation required from city public servants and contractors. A big one is the Public Integrity Officer and staff are granted immunity from lawsuits related to official duties. We understood that in some cases the Public Integrity Officer will be dealing with some things that may not be true, and so with that they do have to work in peace, knowing that with the information given, whether it's true or not, they would be immune from any lawsuits. The funding: the Office of Public Integrity will have a separate budget from other city agencies. Compensation is determined by local officers' compensation committee. We're not here to judge the numbers, we're just here to lay a foundation. Funding structure ensures the Office of Public Integrity's effective operation. So with the reporting and transparency, regular reporting to the Board of Ethics, mayor, city council, and residents. They're authorized to hire consultative services for conflict of interest, and measures ensure independence, transparency, and accountability. So this is the Board of Ethics along with the Office of Public Integrity and the Public Integrity Officer. The Board of Ethics, creation and membership, the Board of Ethics will have 5 members. 2 will be appointed from City Council. 2 members will be appointed by the mayor. 1 member is appointed by the election commission with 4/5 of the vote. So with the Board of Ethics, members must be city residents serving 5-year terms. Term limits no more than 2 consecutive terms. Removal for cause after investigation and board vote. I'm going to skip ahead because I do only have 2 minutes left. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact a charter commissioner, or please read the charter revision proposal. Just want to give you guys the most important things. So another section, enhancing resident voice and power. With that, so we adjusted the petitions and referendums. So to file a petition must collect signatures from not less than 10% of the registered electors in the preceding presidential election. That was worded due to realizing the presidential election shows the most voters in the city of Pontiac. Candidates for nomination signature requirements with the new position, council at large. They must have 250 to 400 signatures to run, along with the mayor, and then the council seats must be 100 to 150 signatures. I will go into detail of the at-large commission. Bear with me one moment with only a minute left. I'm going to go over here. So with the at-large position, so with this proposal, we would love to move the districts from 7 to 6 and include an at-large seat. We figured that the at-large seat is a way to increase resident representation on council, more opportunity to engage and get issues taken care of. Does not change for individuals currently serving. When this charter is approved in 2024, this position would be elected for the new council in 2025. So the part-time, with the part-time city council, we would like to make that a full-time council president. Mike McGinnis is a great example of why the council president should be full-time, just investing that 24-hour communication for the people of Pontiac to have that resource. I don't know how much more time I have. It does look like it's 0:00. Would you like me to continue?
We'll blur that by a few, but not by much.
Okay.
We want the people to have the information.
So with that, another important piece, so we did update the qualifications for a deputy mayor. You know, we would just like to ensure the deputy mayor has a bachelor's or master's degree in preferred relevant fields, experience in municipal finance, community, economic development, project management, and supervisory skills is required. The approval process, the mayor shall appoint with the approval of council, a deputy mayor. Appointees approved by mayor then would be subject to approval of council, and any interim appointees that may not serve more than 65 days without council approval, any section is subject to approval by council. I would say those are the main important ones. I would love to present to you the full information. If you have any meetings that you would like this full presentation to send to, I would be more than welcome to show up and present, as well as other commissioners.
Would you like to introduce your fellow Charter Revision commissioners here this evening?
Yes. The commissioners along here today are Commissioner Norbert Burrows, Commissioner Brian Killian, Commissioner Kermit Williams, and there are others on the board who are not here today, but they are accessible as well. So,
if you don't mind, we'll delve into questions from council members. Again, not advocating for or against adoption or defeat, but just to clarify further. Pro Tem Carrington, you had a hand?
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you guys for coming to present tonight. But there's a few questions I have concerning the document. Page 4, 3.102, district representation, term of office. The member from each district shall be nominated and elected by the electors of the district. One council member at large shall be nominated and elected by the electors of the entire city, except for council members already serving at the time this charter is approved in 2024. So is that statement saying that the current members of council cannot run for the at-large seat?
That is not saying that, Pro Tem Carrington. What it's saying, and hope when we put the charter together, we did this section first. We spent a lot of time on the city council section because we thought it was important to balance out how government was. We have seen time and time again where the city council, even though they were the legislative and co-equal branch with the mayor's office, did not have those same rights and privileges. So what this was doing was, because we think that the current board deserves their full term. We didn't know when the charter was going to be instituted and active, so we didn't want to have an at-large position or for you to have to rerun before your term expired with the 4 years. So that's why that section is in there, not to stop y'all from running for office, but to make sure that y'all can finish out your term after the charter passes.
I want to ask a follow-up question on that. So it goes further. It says, to be eligible for the office of council member for a district, a person must be a resident of the district in question for 1 year immediately prior to filing deadline, period. To be eligible for the office of council member at large, comma, a person must have been a resident of the city for 1 year immediately before the filing deadline for the office, period. So the sentence that speaks to eligibility doesn't speak to, except for these 7 people are not eligible to run at large. The weird part is that it's in the line that talks about, it says, the person will be nominated and elected by the electors of the entire city except for council members at the time if this is adopted in 2024. So the technical way that language is saying is that everyone in the city can vote on this except these 7 electors, which is maybe not your intention, but it creates a weird language part.
I hear you, President. Clearly, this was raked over by not only the Attorney General's office, but also by the Governor's office. And so we can definitely bring our attorney back to answer that particular question for you. But that is not what we heard. Matter of fact, we actually had a whole session making sure that this particular mayor and council were not impacted by the new charter. We really wanted the charter to start after the term was there and move the elections to presidential election for better turnout. We were told we were not able to do that, and so we had to stick with the 2025 timeline. And so that's why these adjustments are there, because we started on this section first, and then we went to the actual date, and the date change was the last actual meeting that we had where we had to vote on items.
Okay. Pro Tem.
Yes, my follow-up question. Thank you for that response, Brother Kermit. The second question, compensation, 3.110, page 6. Council is a part-time position itself for the council president, which is considered full-time. So I have a question because it's a little vague concerning the at-large seat. The at-large seat is a full-time position, right?
No.
No?
Possibly.
Okay.
So we had a vote because originally I wanted, because I can only speak for me, I told you it was like 9 people ordering a pizza. I originally wanted 2 at-large people. I wanted the president and pro tem to be the at-large position, similar to the city of Detroit, because I thought that made as much sense as possible. My colleagues agreed that we needed 1 at-large person because Pontiac doesn't necessarily like change that much to also see how it works. So technically, any one of the 7 could be the council president in the full-time position, the at-large or otherwise. My colleagues made the point, and they can step in whenever they get ready, that said that everybody who could run at large or is very popular may not be equipped to be the council president. So they gave that power back to the city council to decide who their president was, regardless of who the at-large person was. So technically, yes, an at-large person could be the council president, or it could be a council person from District 6 as the president of the city council under the new charter, because you will decide amongst yourselves. So at your meeting when the charter starts in January, y'all will select officers, and when y'all select the city council president, that person will know that they would be a full-time position, and that will be decided among the 7 people that will be sitting in those seats.
I still got a question because, and based on this charter that you guys created, so basically we can have a full-time citywide council person that we have to give a full-time stipend to, and then if the city, the president is considered a full-time position, then that person also get a full-time stipend.
No, that's not what I said. So, President Pro Tem, there will be 7 people elected. All 7 people are part-time. The one person that assumes the presidency will be that full-time person, be it at large or be it by district.
So the president position is what triggers that, not the at-large position.
Okay, that's my question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But he's saying there's always the possibility, depending on who the voters elect and then who the council elects, that could overlap or it might not. But it's the president role that triggers that. And is your understanding that that would be effective come January of this year, even prior to new election?
No. None of this is prior to the election. So I'll say this, and then I'll let Brian jump in. This current city council will decide the maps for the districts in which people will run for in August and November of next year. The new mayor and city council, or current mayor and city council, will start January 1st as is regularly scheduled. The only difference is once this charter goes into effect, certain boards and commissions will then have to be made before we get into the actual election in August and November of 2025. So this doesn't move up the election. Everybody who is serving in District 7 will still be serving in District 7 until the new maps are drawn, and then those people are elected in January 1st of 2026.
Further questions of clarification? Councilman Rutherford.
Yes, so I'm reading in section 3.113, the transfer of city property and contracts. I wanted to know, how did you guys come up with that concept? It says the city should not transfer or divert any use parkland unless approved by the majority of electors, and parkland shall include any city park. Is that, could you give me elaboration on that one? And then also it says in section,
we'll go section by section,
okay,
so that
cool.
way,
So
for
that's the
everyone's
first
sake, they
section.
don't have to
I got
flip.
like 3 questions, so that's the first question.
3.113, transfer of city property.
All right, this my last one. This is the Councilwoman Kathy Lee James amendment. She came to our meeting, which was open to the general public and everybody else, and she spoke on the need for parkland not to be given away or sold. As you know, that they tried to turn Murphy Park into houses about 20 years ago, and they weren't able to do that because the land was deeded over. But there was nothing in the charter that spoke to parkland having to stay parkland.
Order in the chambers. Only the Charter Revision Commission has the floor.
Without a vote of the people. And so now, if the city wants to sell Galloway Park, they have to go to the voters of the city of Pontiac in order to do that. The other charter in 1982 spoke to the city being able to sell land that was insignificant, and we just updated that to say to sell property. We didn't specify what was significant or insignificant to make it clear cut.
Okay. Further clarification, Councilman Rutherford.
Section 4106, appointment of department heads, failure to act on appointments. Can you elaborate on why this part is in there and explain obvious, just so that people know what you guys are intended to do?
And as you're coming to that, I'll read it for those at home's sake. 4.106 in the proposed charter language, appointment of department heads, semicolon, failure to act on appointments. Except as otherwise required by law or this charter, the mayor shall appoint for each department of the executive branch a director who serves at the pleasure of the mayor as head of the department. Each appointment shall be subject to approval of the council. If a mayoral appointment is not approved by the council within 30 calendar days after the submission of the appointment to the council, then the mayor has the right to resubmit the approval of the denied candidate or bring forth another candidate to council. And then subpoint A, the interim appointee may not serve more than 65 days without council approval. And B, any extension of the interim role is subject to approval by vote of the council at the following next regular meeting after the 65-day period. Any commissioner wish to share perspective on the thought process?
All right, so I've been here 12 years, and so Councilwoman Waterman's here, Councilwoman Miller's here. At one time, we had a person that was serving as interim finance director indefinitely in the city because the 1982 charter only spoke to appointments and did not speak to vacancies or how long an interim person could be there. So they had that person in office for an indefinite period of time. The only thing that stopped that appointment was the previous city council zeroing out that line item in the budget to pay for finance director in order to make sure that person left the position. As long as they had money in the budget to pay, that person may be serving interim right now into your term. So this new charter speaks to making sure that there's mechanisms in place both for the mayor and the city council to be clear. They have to bring the appointments. They can serve interim, but they can't serve more than 65 days. At that time, the mayor can bring up a new position, or they can bring that same person up for reappointment, but it keeps it honest and open for the citizens, and it also makes sure that the taxpayers know who the department heads are, and they have checks and balances.
Thank you.
Any further questions, Councilwoman? Okay. Further final clarifying questions? Obviously, residents can reach out to Pontiac Charter Revision Commissioners for further information. You are welcome if you want to come at some of the future city council meetings. Just reach out to council leadership if there's a specific section. Maybe that's a way that can be done further. What are some other ways in which residents can find out more information? Where can they potentially access the document? My understanding is that the clerk's office has access or can provide a resident of access to the proposed charter. Is that a real statement?
Yes, Mr. President. Copies of the charter are in the clerk's office, and then the proposed charter is also on the city's website.
And on the city's website, is there anything further that the commissioners would like to share?
Yes. First of all, honor to everyone here and on TV and this council. It's going to be also available. We're going to be available, hopefully, at every district meeting, hopefully at every neighborhood watch, the CDCs, and any place that we feel, you know, the Bowen Center, Ruth Peterson, any place that we feel that our citizens are in need to listen. Hopefully, we'll gather more than the people that actually came out to see when we had these meetings. And they could bring these questions to us at that time. We're also going to put together, hopefully, a couple of special events where we are, 3 or 4 of us, not the whole, are able to discuss some questions at major events that we put together.
Okay, thank you. Final question, Councilman Goodman.
I hate to ask this one because it's a little bit longer explanation, but can you go a little bit further into the Office of Public Integrity and the Board of Ethics that you're trying to establish? Because I think that's a really important thing, given multiple different situations throughout the city in recent years.
So maybe not the technicalities of it, but do you want to share the thought process, the broad, what prompted?
Or also reading more of the bullet points that were on the slide. I think there were some good things in there that weren't.
Okay, we're gonna have Jose go back to the bullet points. I'll talk about the reasoning really quickly. So in 1982, the charter was based on the perfect angels. That charter in 1982 speaks to everybody playing well in the rules and doing things that they're supposed to be doing. Since 1982, we've had council people that have got indicted. We've had forensic audits that have showed 260 pages worth of misappropriation or misuse of funds that the charter hasn't had capabilities to do anything with. Having an Office of Public Integrity would not only give oversight, but it would actually give feedback. One of the key points in that is that this neutral body would have to answer to the mayor, the city council, and the citizens by giving reports on findings. Right now, there's all kinds of allegations on what the council is doing or not doing, and there's no redress or anybody to look at it and say, no, Councilwoman James did not do X, Y, and Z, and this is what the findings are from the report in order to establish trust. We did a survey of over 3,000 residents, and one of the things that they said that was missing was confidence and trust in the structures of the city of Pontiac. And so public integrity officers speak to that, and I'll let Jose go through some of these bullet points, but the thought process is to make sure that we have somebody in-house working for the citizens, working for the mayor and the council to make sure we don't end up where we ended up on the news and other places with people acting outside of the scope of their offices for city council. We've had people take bribes. We've had people order condoms on city credit cards. All of those things never got spoken to.
Neither of those statements apply to the current city council. Thank you.
It does not. It does not. But those are things that has happened since 1982, and we need to safeguard the city from those.
And, well-known citizen Rick David brought up a good point that it's unfortunate that, this department has to be created, but unfortunately it does reflect present time. Although he was unhappy, he was understanding and okay with it. And this is not to say that this Office of Public Integrity is a permanent thing, but it does have the opportunity to be a right now thing, and with the Charter Review Board, there is always an opportunity to remove this office once we believe we can provide full trust and transparency in our local government, of course. Going back to the powers and duties, this is specifically for the Public Integrity Officer. So they are the liaison between the city elected officers and public servants. So essentially, the Public Integrity Officer is the person for citizens to go to when they're concerned and they have any issues about anything that's going on in the city. This will allow the Public Integrity Officer to do its formal research, to ask for anything that is needed, that is required from the elected officials. And once they complete their investigation, once they have findings, they will then present that to the Board of Ethics, to the City Council, and to the mayor. Once the information is provided, the council is who makes the decisions on the investigation. The Public Integrity Officer, the Office of Public Integrity, can only introduce and provide what they have found, and that is the limit that that is the full limit that they can go to. Which is why there's that immunity clause to ensure that, if their investigation comes to find out that the information that was initially provided is not true, of course, that case would then be dissolved. I just wanted to go to the Board of Ethics powers and duties. So with the Board of Ethics, they do collaborate with the Office of Public Integrity for their annual report preparation. The Board of Ethics receives and addresses complaints under Article 6. They facilitate ethical standards. I'm sorry, Article 7, my apologies. Facilities, ethical standards, training for city officials. So I know that's a main concern, is that once an elected official is elected, how do they grow into the position? That Office of Public Integrity and that Public Integrity Officer can guide them essentially to, determine the training that they believe that they need. And as well as the transition process for elected officials. I've only heard stories of where transition processes are complicated and hectic and do not go as smoothly as they should. So with this Public Integrity Officer in the Office of Public Integrity, they would be the transition point of contact, if you will, to ensure the transition from the old regime to the new regime goes smoothly.
More hands. Councilwoman James.
Yes, I would just like to suggest, for the time that we have left, that
Between now and the election?
Yes.
Okay.
That as you go out to the community, what I've heard from in my own district council meeting and just talking to residents, because they are concerned, I do think it's concerning that we haven't gotten the message out sooner. We just had a District 4 meeting last week, and so the notices of these meetings are right in our agenda, so it's really easy to determine when the district meetings are. And some of the issues that came out, I think people basically want to know what's changed, what's different. And so as you come out, to address the community, you should come out with just a basic idea of what we have now and what you're proposing. So they want to know what's different, what's changed. So hopefully as you come out, with the shortness of time and, getting people to understand, at least at a minimum, have that in a snapshot of this is what's changed from the old charter to the new. And so I just wanted to say that as a suggestion.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rutherford?
My suggestion is that you guys come to my district meeting, because being that District 1 is one of the most outspoken districts, I have no idea how to sell this or to be against it or pro it. And if I was to use this, I wouldn't be able to understand it. I was confused and asked direct questions because the way it's wrote is misleading, especially there's certain parts that just don't strike me as where there was more involvement than needed to be necessary from the people. If this is for the people, some of this doesn't garner towards the people. Like you said, for example, that if you guys investigate, so that means if anytime somebody spread a rumor, so I'm just being real. Let's say I spread a rumor that I'm getting paid $200 per meeting, right? And someone can come tell you, well, Melanie's getting paid, Councilwoman Rutherford's getting paid $200 per meeting.
Why do you always use yourself as the example?
Because I don't want anybody else to say I'm
She's always being so kind and magnanimous, saying the worst case scenario, here's me.
No,
all right.
I'm doing it because I like to be, I just was using music, not to be, like, does that mean every time somebody make up a rumor, y'all gonna investigate? Because, I mean, if we gonna be investigating, we gonna be investigating all day because we hear stuff every day. That's what my question is. So how does this make it any different? This is basically the rumor mill to me. I mean, I just don't get that part. So I need y'all to come and better explain it because the math ain't mathing to me. So my meeting is July 31st from 3 to 5. I expect to see somebody there to explain this to my people. But please be advised that there's other places like the CDC. Mr. Bass is here. Ms. Northcross. Y'all have got to explain this better, especially to that district. Not being funny.
That's right. District 1's voters deserve the most attention according to District 1's council.
Sorry. Bye.
Any final feedback to those final helpful suggestions from council members?
Before I let Commissioner Burrows on the mic, I would like to extend the information that a mailer was released during the mailing of the ballots. From witnessing, I do see that Councilwoman Gloria Miller did bring hers in today. So the mailers did go out to all of the Pontiac households. Whether you have got it yet is to be determined, but it does show that some of the Pontiac residents have been receiving the mailer that the Pontiac Charter Commissioner has sent out.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to speak briefly. When I ran for the Charter Commission, they told us we had 3 years to complete the charter. Well, they only gave us 2. Second, when I first heard about changing the districts, I couldn't believe it. Like, why would you do that? Until they explained it to me about the at-large position. The perfect example for the at-large position is what Gloria Miller spoke about today. It would be the at-large person's job to cover Brett Nicholson. So now his district will have representation. They have that person to answer to them. So that's why that came, and when they explained it to me, I understood that. Another thing, the city have been stealing money, they've been caught, everything, all kind of stuff been happening, but nothing happens to them. We done had people like we done had administrations like they was Trump, like they just did whatever they wanted to, and nothing happened. So that's the purpose of bringing in this person to try to bring some accountability to people. to bring some repercussions to stuff. The charter didn't speak of nothing like that. The charter didn't say anything about stealing money or what to do when you steal it. So that's why we have it. And don't look at me as an elected official. I'm not an elected official.
Well, tonight you are.
I'm Norbert, a citizen of Pontiac, a guy that lived here all my life that care about the city. That's who I am. So I don't like being addressed as an elected official. That's why I ain't dressed like them.
Well, thank you, everyone, for your time. It's obviously a complex matter, so we wanted to give more time than usual. But we do need to move on with the business of this evening, so thank you very much for your time. But more importantly, thank you to your service to the city. When it was just said yes, thank you for your service to the city, regardless of outcome. When they said they only gave us 2 years, it's not the city council. We weren't the ones that tried to cut that off. It's per the state of Michigan. All right, thank you very much. We've completed recognition of elected officials and agenda address. We're now at number 2 on the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to approve the mayor or deputy mayor to award the bid and execute a city contract for the Martin Luther King Jr. Bridge Design Engineering Services Project to Fleiss and Vandenbrink Engineering, Inc. and partner CDM Smith?
Moved by Carrington.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Pro Tem Carrington, seconded by Councilman Goodman, so now the matter can be debated further. We give the floor to the administration for their initial rationale.
Well, thank you, President McGinnis. As I think just about everybody knows, the MLK Bridge is in tough shape and has been shut down. It's an expensive project in terms of both engineering and construction. It's estimated to cost between $12 and $15 million, and so it's not the kind of money that we could find in our couch cushions here at the city. So the first order of business was to go out and solicit some dollars from the state and federal governments. The federal government has secured $4.1 million, and we will be getting that sometime in the next 6 months or so. But the state has secured and started providing $10 million. They finally got us an agreement for that money back in roughly March. And so once we executed that agreement with the state for that $10 million, we then went out with an RFP to solicit design engineering services. And through that process, a committee was formed through purchasing, and they have recommended the hiring of the 2 firms that are on the agenda tonight. Fleiss and Vandenbrink, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and CDM Smith are the firms. I'm going to have our city engineer, Shannon Filarecki, come up to walk through this. And she's also going to show some pictures of the existing bridge, because I know there have been a lot of questions from the community in terms of the existing condition of the bridge. But I do just want to note that in the contract that's in your packet, there is a typo that our legal director, Joanne Gurley, has suggested fixing this evening. And I passed out a page that shows a strike through some of those words. The RFP, I understand, was for design engineering services only, and that was the understanding of everybody who bid. So on page 5 of the contract, at the very top, it should read design engineering, meaning construction, traffic, and bridge should be struck through. And I know I passed out a page that shows that strike through. And with that, I should also note that we have representatives of the engineering firms here with us if there are any questions, but I'll turn it over to Engineer Filarecki.
Good evening, Council. The mayor's asked me to kind of give you a little image to kind of show the state of the bridge. I think we're having a little bit of technical difficulties right now. Trying to get just the presentation up. Okay. I guess we'll proceed this way. That's what I was looking for. This is the presenter's side, not necessarily the presentation mode. It may have something to do with the fact that we're trying to do this inside a Teams meeting. rather than just as a PowerPoint presentation?
All right, could I please have a motion to table this item?
So moved.
Support.
It's been motion to table until they are prepared to give the presentation. Moved by Goodman, seconded by Carrington. Roll call, Clerk Doyle. Jesus. All right, so will you withdraw your motion?
I'll withdraw.
All right, withdraw?
Yes.
We're withdrawn. All right, let the show go on.
Okay. So, as many of you know, in the summer of 2022, the previous engineering firm for the city had recommended closure of the bridge because of the critical condition. I think there have been a lot of questions from residents and council both concerned about whether or not that bridge really needed to be closed. So we've prepared this presentation to just kind of give an idea. If you go and stand underneath the bridge at the railroad line, this is what you'll see. It doesn't really look that bad. It looks like it's okay. It's a little rusted on the beams and it's not that big of a deal. But if you climb up into it and you take a look at where the I-beams adjust into the structure, you will be...
Is it legal to climb on the beams?
You should not.
All right.
Your previous engineer did when they did this inspection and collected these pictures. And as you can see, we have almost 100% degradation of the I-beams underneath that bridge. That is what's supporting the road and the bridge deck above an active railroad line. This is from the other side. So these are at a point of critical failure. There is no question that these need to be removed and replaced. The question of whether or not you need to replace the entire bridge is addressed with these. You can see from the picture on the left, the foundational support for the bridge has been severely cracked and shifted, and the picture on the right shows a massive amount of erosion that has occurred behind the bridge supports, so much so that it's actually exposed underground utilities that are there. We don't know where that erosion is coming from. We don't know why it's coming. It needs to be addressed. But we have no idea whether or not that bridge can still stand and be reused without doing some serious investigation. The fact that the city had some forethought to go out and work with the state and the federal government to try and obtain some appropriations has now afforded us an opportunity to have $15 million towards just completely replacing that bridge and also doing some minor improvements to the roadway on either side of the bridge. Any questions?
Pro Tem Carrington.
Thank you, President McGinnis. Just a few questions concerning this resolution. Was the firm selected primarily due to time to complete the project? So when picking that firm, was one of the main reasons that this firm was chosen was due to the completion of time element that the bid was made?
So the scoring profile was put together by the purchasing department, and then they took the scores from those that rated the proposals that came in and compiled all those numbers together, and they came up with the scoring. So it does have a higher weight. The schedule does, in accordance with the addendum that was issued, say that 30% of that weight is by schedule.
Okay. And the second question concerning costs, you mentioned 38 weeks. If this is expedited, does this lower the cost of maximum contract costs?
No.
No, not at all? Does it increase based on it being expedited?
If you expedite construction, it depends on the contractor. If they've got means and methods, or they already have things in their yard that they can use on the project, you might get some savings, but there is no guarantee that that's going to occur. Usually an expedited schedule requires overtime and holiday hours and things of that nature. So that does typically tend to drive the price up.
Okay. And another question, if it's possible. The references checked thoroughly, because this is a new firm. Actually, when you look at the three firms that applied, it's the newest of the firms, if I read the proposal right. So I'm assuming that the reference was checked thoroughly and vetted and all those things.
Again, I can't speak to that. That was done through the purchasing department.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Filarecki, you're an engineering professional. Have you worked with the firm before?
I have not worked directly with the firm that's been proposed.
All right, then we'll ask the firm about their track record. Were you a part of the scoring and evaluation team?
We did provide our scoring, yes.
Okay. Mayor Greimel, next on the speaker's list.
Well, I just wanted to try to answer a couple of the pro tem's questions. As Engineer Filarecki said, the highest weight of any of the scoring criteria was about how quickly they could design and engineer the bridge. But if you look at the sheet that comprises the score, so that's the evaluation template that immediately follows the draft contract, the recommended firm did score the highest in terms of the time to complete the project, and that's because their estimated time of doing so was the shortest of any of the three firms that put in proposals. The amount that they're charging for the design and engineering is a flat fee, meaning that it's not based on the amount of hours that go into it, but it is a flat fee regardless of any question about how quickly or slowly they design it or how many hours are spent designing it.
Thank you.
Okay, so there are two firms that are part of the administration's request for approval. It's Design Engineering Services, Fleiss and Vandenbrink Engineering, Inc., and then they have a partner of CDM Smith. We have in-person representatives from the engineering firm, and then remotely we have representatives from CDM Smith. So we'd like to give the floor to representatives from Fleiss and Vandenbrink. If you can first make the pitch in terms of what you're bringing to the table. And a question was raised by one of the city council members of track record with other municipalities with large-scale infrastructure projects, even some that might be very close in scope or scale here.
Good evening. Chris Hennessy, Fleiss and Vandenbrink. My colleague Dave DeLynn, Fleiss and Vandenbrink, also joined via Teams is my other colleague, Jarek Rose, who's the project manager for this. He was gone this week on vacation. He's on the right on the screen. And then our partner, CDM Smith, Manawar Azim, is on the left. So just to introduce everybody, I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to be here. We wanted to obviously answer some questions. We appreciate, again, the opportunity to partner with the city on this really important project. We know how important it is to the residents, specifically in that area, but also the local economy here in Pontiac. So we were on the site earlier today again before we came over just to have another visual of it. So, we're happy to answer some questions. I know there were some questions already answered. I don't know if you did not already get those answers to those questions. We're happy to answer those again. I think the administration did answer those. In terms of our qualifications, I know that was put within the within our response to the city as well as our references. We're assuming that the city and their purchasing followed up on those. But again, we're happy to answer any specifics about Fleiss and Vandenbrink. What we did in our specific approach to this was Fleiss and Vandenbrink, as an engineering company, we do work with cities all over the state of Michigan. And our reason that we partnered with CDM Smith on this one was CDM is a much larger national and international firm. We knew how important this project was to the city, so what we wanted to bring was two firms' expertise together, one that focuses specifically with municipal clients, and then one that has a much larger focus and a track record of designing bridges in a much expedited time, so we can meet the needs of the city. So that's more or less how we came together with our partnership. Fleiss and Vandenbrink is the lead on that, just to clarify that in terms of going forward. So again, happy to answer some questions. I know my two folks that are also over on Teams would be happy to answer some as well. So.
Very good. How long has your engineering firm been in existence?
Fleece and Vanderbrink was founded in 1993. So we're right around 300 employees in the state of Michigan, 9 offices between Michigan and Indiana.
And what are some other municipalities that your firm has worked with in the last number of years?
You know, I'm specifically with Fleece and Vandenbrink, within the east side, Royal Oak, Northville, the city of Flint. You know, Jarek, I'm happy to, you know, have you kind of chime in some other communities. City of Grand Blanc, another community. I'm just looking kind of in the immediacy around Pontiac. Sure. Grand Rapids, Farmington Hills, Saline. Any other? Jarek, do you want to
Jared, thank you for joining us remotely. And we understand that there might always be connectivity issues if, depending on where in paradise you have escaped to. Can you share with us some substantial project examples that your engineering firm has engaged with and where they might be located with, whether we may or may not have already been familiar with them, just examples of how you're able to run point on substantial projects?
Okay. Yeah, right now I can hear you guys loud and clear, so hopefully I'm coming across without too much of a breakup. Everything seem okay?
Mostly.
All right. We'll make do. Yeah, Chris mentioned quite a few of them. Some other ones, you know, City of Saginaw, just looking at some of our bigger clients that we've done a lot of road reconstruction projects with. It's been the City of Flint, City of Saginaw, Royal Oak. We've done a number of those over the years. Let me think of some road commissions as well.
Yeah. Just mention Muskegon, you know, quite a few also on the west side. Happy to mention Muskegon. We do work in Benton Harbor, City of Grand Rapids, just to name some other communities. So we are all over the state. We've got 7 offices across the state.
Thank you.
Yep.
And participating remotely as well, could the representative of CDM Smith share a little bit about their firm's profile, some other large-scale projects of this infrastructure magnitude that you've done design engineering work for? You're muted. Don't know whose end that's on, but you're muted, good sir.
I apologize to you all. So yes, my name is Munawar Azam. Thank you all for providing us the opportunity. CDM Smith is about a 6,000 plus employee global firm. We have about, give or take, 50 people in Michigan, and we have offices all across the country, 83 offices all over. The major projects where we are working on the infrastructure side of it right now is the downtown Detroit, the $70 million, which is also called the Corktown, 1.85 miles from I-96 to Cass Avenue, where we are replacing the entire infrastructure, the reconstruction, the sanitary sewer, the storm sewer, the inductive charging, the first in the nation. So that's our biggest project right now for Michigan. Then we have recently delivered a project in Muskegon area, $1.5 million design project on that. It was a 5 miles of reconstruction segments and some resurfacing segments. And in addition, we have done several other projects in Jackson and Lansing and other counties in Michigan.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. As far as bridges concerned, we have been designing bridges all over the country, actually. So we are more national on the bridge side of it. My personal credential is that I was the deputy project manager for the most known project right now, Gordie Howe, for 3.5 years when I was at MDOT. So
referencing the Gordie Howe International Bridge over the Detroit River with the Canadian government in partnership
Yes,
with the United
then-
States government?
Yes, when I was with MDOT. So that's my additional credential, my personal credential when I was with MDOT at that time.
So you previously worked with the Michigan Department of Transportation, is that correct?
That is correct, for a good 15 years.
All right. Further discussion and questions from the City Council on this motion? What we have before us, Councilwoman James, you have the floor.
I have a question, but mine is more.
Microphone.
Mine is more for our engineer, city engineer. Going back to the slides that you showed, I think I'd like to see us clarify once and for all the issue of repair versus replace, which has come up several times in our meeting. It sounded to me like from your comments, even if we attempted to repair, based on the information that you shared, if we could get into it and actually find that it was just impossible, it's impossible to repair, that we would have to. It sounds to me from what you shared that the repair is really iffy there. And if we attempted to approach it from a repair, that it's possible we could have to start with a repair and actually end up with a replace. Would that be correct, or could you clarify that for the residents? Because that issue has come up multiple times because of the length of time the bridge has been down and the frustration, the repair versus replace. So based on what you shared.
So we were not part of doing the condition assessment of the bridge. That was done prior to me joining the city. Okay. So all I have are the reports that were prepared by the inspector that did the bridge and filled out the forms that were required by MDOT for our bridge inspection to identify whether or not the bridge was safe to remain open. And their declaration as a bridge inspector was that the bridge needed to be closed.
To be closed, but was the determination that it had to be replaced, was that the official determination?
I was not here. I can't speak to that. The mayor may be able to.
Is there somebody here who can speak to that? Mayor Greimel?
Yes, that was the recommendation, the strong recommendation from the firm that did the assessment. And I think the councilwoman's question is essentially based on whatever knowledge you have of reviewing those reports. Do you know if a repair is possible, or is it possible one could get into doing a repair and actually it would be insufficient and need to be replaced?
I do not know if it can be repaired. Looking at the images that I see, the holes through the I-beams, at the very least, you would have to remove the entire bridge deck. And then you're going to have to determine whether or not the supports are there to handle the new bridge deck. So yes, if you were to try and repair it, there is a very high likelihood that you may have to stop midstream and replace it.
Mayor Tim Greimel, you have made presentations to the city council leadership, and the people of Pontiac about assessments that were provided to you. Are you able to provide any further context? The city council is eager to make sure that the public knows what you know. So is there anything further that you would like to illuminate on Councilwoman James's very valid question?
Yeah, all of the reports that were provided to us by Benish have been provided to DLZ. I think what Engineer Filarecki is saying is that DLZ has not done an independent assessment.
Exactly. So I'm asking you, as mayor of City of Pontiac, do you want to offer any further perspective? You
Yes,
authorized the closure.
As I've said,
maintained the closure. Mm-hmm. You have made this consideration that we need funding for full replacement. You have shared at various intervals professional assessments that have been provided to you that reiterate that. And so the council and the community is asking for essentially a summary of those items you've said before.
Yes, so I can reiterate what I've said many times, and that is that Benish, that did this bridge review and assessment, was very, very clear in conversations not just with me but with the deputy mayor that this bridge needed to be closed immediately, They actually went so far as to say that it needs to be closed not just to vehicular traffic, but to pedestrian traffic. And they also said that it needed a replacement. They did say, or other firms have said, that maybe you could do a repair that would cost approximately $1 million, but it would only last a year. And as a result, in our conversations amongst ourselves and with DLZ, in terms of prudent use of taxpayer dollars, we did not think it made sense to put nearly $1 million into a temporary repair that might not even last a year.
Anything for the Councilwoman James? Councilwoman Rutherford.
So, number one, where's the physical report that they said in writing that this bridge needs to be replaced? Has there ever been put in physically, right? Not what they said, not what you heard. Where's the physical report that says this bridge needs to be replaced? And if the administration has it, why is it not shared it with this council? That's the first question. My second question, and then I'll yield, is is there any pros and cons to getting a second opinion before we do this? It's important because this is a hot topic in the community. It's a hot topic, not just based because of for transportation reasons, but for health reasons and for people who can't actually get to where they need to get to in a timely fashion. And it's shut down, basically that side of town, along with Bagley and Franklin. So I'm not asking these questions to be combative. I'm asking, was there a second or third opinion, and was it put in writing that says this bridge needs to be replaced? And I yield to
The answers are yes, yes, and yes. There were multiple assessments done. They were in writing. They have been provided to council. My frustration is that that is not encapsulated in any sort of comprehensive presentation tonight to help recap that for the community. So, yes, those exist.
Okay.
Yes, we have them in our email archives that we reviewed at the time. But in terms of helping set the scene, is just the absence of that content is revisiting questions that were asked many moons ago.
Right. And the only reason why I'm asking is because the citizens are going to ask, well, did you ask for it? Where is that? And so I just like to say, do you have an updated version of the no? That's all I wanted.
And obviously, a lot of documentation had to be provided to the state of Michigan and the federal government for them to issue the funding. And any other reflections or feedback, Mayor Greimel, to these questions that have been raised?
Well, I appreciate your acknowledging that the documentation has been provided to council. We certainly could put up kind of these voluminous engineering reports on the screen, but we thought that the pictures themselves, together with engineer Filarecki's walking us through the pictures, would be the most clarifying element to display to the public. You know, the old expression that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, these pictures clearly show that the I-beams are shot.
They're worth about $15 million worth of words. Ugh. All right. Further discussion on the motion before us?
If
I'll
I
recap.
may, just
Yes,
to
ma'am.
provide some clarification to Councilwoman Rutherford's second question, the time that it's going to take to design a repair or a replacement is about the same. Actually, the repair might actually take a little longer to design because there's a larger amount of investigation that needs to be done to ensure that the foundation of the bridge is solid, can support a new bridge deck, that we can figure out where the erosion is coming from and that it hasn't undermined anything underground. There's a lot of things that you can't see when you go to try and do a repair. So if the design for the repair and the design for the complete replacement are going to take the same amount of time, and you now have appropriated dollars of $15 million to completely replace the bridge, I would be remiss if I recommended that you try and replace or repair the bridge instead of getting a new structure that you know is going to be structurally sound.
Thank you.
So the recommendation is for Fleiss and Vandenbrink Engineering, Inc. and partner CDM Smith for this project. The bid award was based on the committee's recognition of the firm as the most responsive, responsible bidder. The agreement will begin upon execution, and the city expects the firm to complete the project within 38 weeks upon executing the agreement. Again, this is for the design engineering element. The project will use funds assigned to the general ledger account 447-806.006 MLK BRG. The total cost to complete the project is $652,929. Again, that is all funding that has been received from the state of Michigan, grant funding, not directly originating from the taxpayers of Pontiac. More specifically, it is now in the general fund in that designated general ledger account that the action item before us considers. There was a reference from the mayor about a modification the city attorney identified they would like to see made on page 5 of 16 of the proposed contract on number 3, section 3.1 services. Right now it reads, the contractor shall provide design, construction, traffic, and bridge engineering services. And so what has been provided to the council to consider is an amendment that would modify that sentence to instead read, the contractor shall provide design engineering services. Mayor Greimel, does that encapsulate correctly the amendment that the city attorney has identified?
It does.
Is there a motion from a council member to make that amendment?
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman James, seconded by Pro Tem Carrington, that the identified section 3.1 services, the first sentence be amended to instead read, the contractor shall provide design engineering services, period. And all the other language remains the same in that and other sections. Is there further clarity or discussion on the amendment before us, striking that existing sentence and replacing it with the proposed amendment? Hearing nothing further, roll call. Clerk Doyle on the motion to amend.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
That amendment passes, so now we have the motion before us as amended. Any further discussion on this item? It's the city council would be approving the mayor or a deputy mayor to award the bid and execute a city contract, and this is for the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. South Boulevard, that long road, that bridge, the design engineering services, and it goes to Fleiss and Vandenbrink Engineering, Inc., and partner CDM Smith. We refer to it as the MLK Bridge. It's MLK Boulevard as it continues down. And everyone should be aware of this painful closure, but is there any further clarification or discussion needed? This is for design engineering services utilizing state funds that have been granted to the city of Pontiac. Hearing no further discussion, speakers list is exhausted. Roll call. Clerk Doyle on the motion before us.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The resolution is adopted, and we look forward to the mayor providing updates to the community as that work progresses. And other elements of this project will have to come before City Council further. Obviously, the construction elements and other steps necessary. All right, we are now at number 3 on the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to approve the Augusta drain license agreement?
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Rutherford, representing that beautiful drain. Is there a second?
Support.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Rutherford, seconded by Councilman Goodman. The matter is now before us. Administration, you have the floor to present your request.
I'd like to turn it over again to City Engineer Phil Arecki.
Good evening, Council. The Water Resource Commissioner's Office is currently undertaking some improvements to the stormwater management system that they have for several of the drains throughout the city. This is one of those projects. We do have a representative from WRC if you have any questions for some particulars on the project. But basically what it's doing is diverting some of the flow coming through the stormwater system into a type of bioswale. So we'll have some landscaped areas that, and some depression areas that are going to start to minimize some of the fluctuations that we see in the storm drainage system. In doing that, they have asked for a license to do some construction on 3 separate areas that are considered unimproved road right-of-way. It's identified as an existing road, even though there is no pavement there. It's all grass. The county has been maintaining the area as part of their drain. They have a drain easement that runs through there. They've been maintaining it since, I believe, 1972 or thereabouts. But they do not own the property across these three rights-of-way. So they need a license in order to be able to come in and have their contractor do the work that's going to go with this project. At the end of that agreement, or at the end of that construction, the license would be eliminated and the city would still maintain ownership of that right-of-way.
Thank you very much for that information. Thank you to the representative from the County Water Resources Commission for being here. This is a very innovative project that they are undertaking right in Councilwoman Rutherford's District 1 neighborhood. The drain shares the name of your beautiful historic street. So I'm anticipating this means some of those roads that intersect Augusta and Norton, they kind of dead-end-ish, at least on the map, there's a ghost road that keeps going.
Yes.
So the city still owns the ghost road underneath what is essentially a grassy open space that the Water Resources Commission is maintaining. Do I have that sense right of orienting myself? So
Yes.
the member of the Water Resources Commission team is nodding their head yes in the affirmative. We're talking about these ghost roads that east-ish, north and east of Norton, they don't actually continue as roads, but in terms of legal designation, they are still city road and right-of-way underneath the grass.
Correct.
Okay. So the resolution before us, the action item states that the city council approves the license agreement between the city of Pontiac and the Augusta Drainage District, and that the city council authorizes the mayor or mayor's designee to execute the license agreement between the city of Pontiac and the Augusta Drainage District. And we're very pleased that the Water Resources Commission is pursuing stormwater, creative ways to handle stormwater and add green space to the neighborhood and benefit to the residents. It's an agreement with the Augusta Drainage District. My understanding is that the Water Resources Commission, an entity of Oakland County, they are responsible for that drainage district, but are the drain districts essentially set up as their own standalone legal entities? I imagine it's got something to do with arcane Michigan law, but.
It does. It has to do with the Michigan Drain Code. So the Drain Code requires that be maintained by the WRC or by the water resource, or I think it was years and years ago, the drain commissioners. And those have kind of evolved throughout the years to take on more than just the old agricultural drains. So yes, the drain code requires that be maintained. Those drains have been in existence for a long time, but each district has its own area that contributes to it, and then those costs either get assessed directly to the city for what's called a drain at large, or they get assessed to the city and the benefiting parties. If, let's say, a drain gets established for a brand new subdivision and it's only going to serve that subdivision and a portion of the roads owned by the city would pay a proportion and the residents would pay the balance of that, and it would be put on on a special assessment roll.
Further discussion on this motion before us, approving the license agreement for the Augusta Drainage District and helping facilitate the Water Resource Commission's stormwater drainage innovation. Council Pro Tem.
Yes, thank you, President. Just one quick question. I know the termination date is January the 1st, 2026. And I know it's in the contract. President, do we need that in the resolution? I'm just asking. It's not.
So the question, the language in the contract has the date of termination, so to speak, and the question is, should that also be reflected in the resolution? It can be, that since it is in the contract, that's the necessity, but if council wishes to also reflect that, it would not be out of order.
No, I just want to make sure. It's okay. It's fine.
And I would note that it's at the end of construction or that date, whichever comes sooner.
Councilwoman James.
I just have a comment, and that is that I want to commend the Water Resource for the way that the Augusta Drain project has been handled. They have involved the city from the very onset of the project, which is something that has not happened in years past. And so I really appreciate just the process that they went through. President McGinnis and myself have both been actively involved in the project. And so I think it's just a model for how things should happen, and it creates a closer relationship between and trust between the county and between the city of Pontiac. So again, kudos to that project team, and I really appreciate them getting us involved in the earliest stages of this project, and we've really enjoyed being part of it.
Councilwoman Rutherford, followed by Mayor Gremmel.
I'm just excited that it's happening in District 1. That's just me. But I do have...
But across the drain from District 6 and kitty corner of the drain
whatever.
from District 3.
It's 1.
And across Johnson Street from District
4. I live on Augusta. It's 1. Okay, listen, I do have a question. If this is... Get over it. Do it. If this is voted on tonight, when would this start, the process start?
So my understanding is they already have a contractor on board and they're ready to move forward. They need this license agreement in order to be able to begin doing that work.
Okay.
But I don't have an exact start date.
You're welcome to share some of the project highlights. Yeah. And great question.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Jen Cook. I work for the Office of the Water Resources Commissioner, and I will be the project manager executing this project throughout. So thank you very much for your kind words. Appreciate it. I will definitely provide that feedback to my team. We did bid this project out. We received bids and negotiated an agreeable price for the work. As I believe you know, it's grant funded. So we've just yesterday, actually, inked the contract with TR Piper Zach. They're well-vetted contractor, and due to planting schedules, I believe they're going to start mobilizing mid this month to early August. The aim, I believe, the planning schedule is a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but I believe the goal is to get the planting started in around Labor Day.
All right, thank you so much.
Mayor Gremmel. And as a point of privilege, I'm going to go get a drink of water if anyone needs one too.
Well, it's sort of been covered now, but I really wanted to emphasize that, yes, this is really great from a stormwater management perspective, but I'm particularly excited about the fact that it'll beautify the neighborhood, because this is going to be a lot more aesthetically pleasing. And I just wanted to thank the Water Resources Commission for your innovative approach here, both in terms of stormwater management, which maybe is a little bit of a dry subject to the average resident, no pun intended with dry, with stormwater, but also it's, I think, going to really beautify the neighborhood so that people aren't just looking at a basic ditch, and we'll actually have plantings and flowers, and it'll be a really nice addition to the community.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor Gremmel. Any more questions for council? Hearing none, it's been moved in second. Clerk Doyle, can you please have vote?
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
4 yeas, no nays.
Thank you, Clerk Doyle. That passed. The resolution to approve the Augusta Drain License Agreement is approved. Next, on the line of city business, City Clerk, resolution to authorize clerk to post notice of budget amendment to add $10,000 to the 2024-2025 fiscal year budget for Charter Revision Commission operational and outreach costs. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Support.
All right. It's been moved by Councilman Goodman, supported by Councilwoman Rutherford. It's open for discussion. Now, what this does is that this is a notice, a posted notice of budget amendment. So anytime you do a budget amendment, we have to give notice to the community. And really, this is to help the Charter Commission actually get information out. It's for information purposes only, to get information to the community concerning the Charter Commission, the changes in the charter. Any discussion from council?
So
Yeah, Councilwoman Rutherford. Councilwoman James.
Okay, so we're just publishing the notice, and then after it comes back to council in what, 2 weeks?
Yep.
In 2 weeks?
Yep, the day is only posting the notice.
Okay.
Point of information, so it takes 2 weeks for this to come back?
Yes.
Okay.
It's required by, that's what's required. So any other discussion? Councilman McGinnis.
And for context, the way which is set up, it also could be, if the charter is adopted, it's resources that could allow for implementation. So it's not solely about further resources for them to inform the community. The city council did have a very substantial budget line item for that this last fiscal year, so that mailing that went out that utilized that same information, printing and postage line item from the recently concluded fiscal year.
Councilwoman Rutherford.
Just for clarity, for all the bells and whistles, exactly how much money was used out of their budget last year? The amount that they used?
I know what was provided in the sort of month-end reports prior to the close of the fiscal year. I don't know the final number as they're still reconciling,
Okay.
Today's the 2nd of July, the month concluded June 30th, so we won't know for a few days in terms of where the spending shakes out, and that will continue to audit each fiscal year too.
And that money does not come over into this year's budget, correct? Whatever they didn't use?
Correct. There was no automatic rollover. But prior to the budget amendment being considered, we can inquire with the clerk's office and others, so we have at least the latest figure in terms of what was provided for last fiscal year versus what was spent.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Hearing none, Clerk Doyle, roll call.
Carrington.
You had to call me first. Oh, yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
All right, next on the agenda, thank you. We're give it right back to you. It's public comment time. Step right up.
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. Ms. Karen Jerkinson, is she here? No. Dr. Deirdre Waterman.
I did come primarily to speak this evening about many of the people who have been reading in the newspaper about the homeowner repair program provided by the ARPA funds, and are now asking questions about, well, when are they going to be answered, and when do they get to put in an application? And some people have asked me to come ask that questions of you, because I know you've said that you wanted to put more money in the hands of the citizens, and of small businesses. And so we want to see if you can open that up some, because so few of the eligible people, hundreds of people who should be eligible to get this $25,000, have even been able to put in an application. So I'm going to continue to come and push for that and speak on behalf of some of the people who are asking questions about that. And I hope you will be able to give them some straight answers about why this money that's supposed to be used for COVID relief, so little bit is actually getting into their hands. So, but because of the information about the charter revision, I'm going to also talk about that a little bit and change my program here, what I was going to talk about. But after I heard the presentation, I was even more confused than I was from other presentations. Some parts of it sound kind of messy. Now, we do need a new charter. I was on the Charter Revision Commission before, and so I know we do need a new one, but to get the wrong one that the people don't really know what they're getting is not good either. Some of the things they talked about they were going to put in is already in there. For example, you had asked Minister James about there has to be a referendum of people before we sell any parkland. That's in there already. So that's nothing new they're adding, all right? What I wish they'd talked a little bit more, and which is just one line, but it's the most drastic thing in here, is they want to redivide the whole city, change that, and that's going to be costly. And as you said, it's kind of messy the way they added this on this other full-time person. They said they want an at-large person, And you would think that would be the full-time person, but it's not. It is the council president, who doesn't have to be the same as the at-large person. Council president is full-time, so what if the full-time person is not? So I don't know, it doesn't seem to accomplish what they said it was supposed to accomplish. And for all the trouble the city has to go through to divide it, it's just not a matter of drawing some lines on a map. You have to change all the GS codes, you have to change all the maps, you have to change all of the funding with the dividing in the city and the state. And it's just not something that you want to do lightly. And you don't want to do it and then change your mind and say, oh, we didn't really want to do that. So I would just hope they're going to give people some more information than what we were able to get this evening as you go out and talk to the various groups around town.
Thank you, Dr. Waterman. Is it Lizelle Jacobs or Lizelle Jacobs? No. Mr. Robert Bass.
Good evening. My name is Robert Bass. I'm president of Assistant District Council located in District 1. Very quickly, we're having our meeting Saturday at 91 North Saginaw at 1 o'clock until 2:45. We're going to have the Pontiac Housing Commission come in and explain to us about the Purdue site that they're planning to do some work on with their partners. So we're looking for people, anybody that would love to come and hear the information, to come out to our meeting Saturday. And also, and most especially those people in District 7, because it's a District 7 project. So we look forward to everybody coming out and hearing the information and kind of sharing the discussion with us. Also, very quickly about the charter. I don't want to get into this charter. I'm bumping heads with people because they got thin skin. If you're going to be on in an elected position, you should not be thin-skinned enough to be critical when somebody criticizes something that you've done, especially something this important. The charter is very important to me. I've been reading it for years, and it's not something that you read one time and get a thorough understanding. You got to continuously read it like the Bible. And the same thing with the new charter. But I had them to come to our meeting because one of them is a member of mine. And I appreciate all the hard work that they put into it. But I made it very clear that particular day. I gave them an hour and a half of presentation time. And they went through a lot more than what's been through here. So there's a lot of creative stuff in that new charter. And Kermit alludes to people that haven't read it. I think he was talking about me, but that's neither here nor there. I didn't have to read it. I got a very clear picture of the brilliant presentation that they gave at my meeting. And bottom line is, I told them before they left. There's a lot of creative stuff in there, and the first thing you came up tonight, it says no additional taxes. Anytime the administration budget go up and the council budget go up because of added employment, you should have a budget item in there to show what the cost and analysis is going to be. Because with all the creative stuff that they've added into this new charter, it is going to cost our citizens. And that's what I caution them on, because if it don't pass, don't be upset, because you're not the first. And 9 times out of 10, they was talking about residents that have not read this charter. I guarantee most of the ones on the Charter Commission hadn't read the first charter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bass. Ms. Terry L. Covington.
Yes, Melanie, OG. Thank you guys for allowing me to speak with you this evening. I represent the Pontiac Alumni Foundation tonight. We are doing some really creative things. We're moving forward. As I said to you last year, we hosted the alumni block party downtown the Friday before Dream Cruise. We utilized Lawrence Street right up to Saginaw we had a DJ, we had a lot of people in different and various age groups. Some flew into town specifically for the Dream Cruise, but then ended up networking and socializing with former classmates, new classmates, some of our new grads. I'd like permission to do that again this year from you all. I wrote a grant that we were funded $25,000 for, and we're going to utilize some of that funding to reconnect so that the most important resource in our community are our young students. So we're going to use those funds to enhance whatever we can help the school district with, whatever we can help you all with, to make our community a viable option for families, that they bring their kids back to our school district, that they come back into our city and they're buying real estate, and so that we all become the family that I remember as a child growing up. So I'd really like to let you know that it's really important to us that we move forward. I believe the date is August 16th, the Friday before Dream Cruise. Same spot, nothing different. We need to know if you all are going to be charging anything extra as the city so that we can come up with those funds and take care of it. We'll have a few vendors, but they'll only be carrying paraphernalia for the 3 high schools, Central, Northern 4, Pontiac High, and ITA. And I thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Ms. Covington.
Quick question, are you planning on having fireworks?
No, sir.
Okay, well, that would be the only thing that comes to us. So I just want to flag that the administration, so the mayor and his staff, determines road closures or special event permits, those type of fees and applications. So that way, I want to make sure that they follow up with you, and I want to flag that. The only asterisk is if there was a fireworks permit, that would have to come here.
No
So,
fireworks, and I think that we already know the street that we're going to block off, and that's it.
okay, thank you.
I need you all support as well.
Mr. Carlton Jones.
Good evening. Apologize I wasn't able to be down for agenda address. I wish I was. Unfortunately, I told you guys during this time of the season, it is golf season, and I'm in golf league on Tuesday, and just so happened to be I was a little bit pushed back in the lineup today. But I will say this. I got in time enough to listen to some of the discussion about this bridge. And I'm going to try to make this short because I want to make sure it is clear. I appreciate the comments from Councilwoman Rutherford and Councilwoman James. They was very pointed and appropriate questions. And it's clear to me that we have to find ways to get appropriate information to you all. Because I don't claim to be an authority in this, but the response that you got from those questions were questionable. You do not have engineers come and design and then start building without a true understanding of what they're building is what we've agreed to. It's not like you say, okay, start a repair. You would not even start a repair unless you have valid information to engineer it properly. And all this one-year stuff, I don't know where that's coming from. And I just want to let you guys know, I took a different process in here. I just got back in town last night, didn't have a lot of time, and I reached out to leadership. Leadership, I want you to know we're tracking this project because if you look closely at this evaluation, it was won by a time frame given of what it's going to do. And if you look closely at the evaluation, that time frame was how well that the state would approve something. They were not the most qualified. They were not the, quote, most experienced. I seen no DEI in there. We don't think too much of that, but you go asking the right questions, but you don't follow through to the point to make it be something worthwhile for the citizens. So I'm going to continue to track this. When it doesn't hit that, I didn't see any provisions. When that time frame doesn't hit, what do? That's what they wanted for them. That's where they came in first place from. Workforce development is so important in this city, and I see that we're still lacking. I'm a community activist other than what I do at TDC. I'm quite active with Mr. Bass from the CDC, too, and I'm active in a lot of organizations. But somehow or another, our city don't want to take heed to the things that I'm saying, but the citizens talk to me all the time. And I want the citizens to know that we're going to watch what was approved tonight. We're going to track it, because I truly don't believe it was done in the proper way for us to go ahead and move forward with that tonight. So just know DEI should be in every contract, and I have not seen anybody speak to it yet. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Ms. Claudia Fuller.
Who's been twisting your arm, Claudia?
Well, hopefully it'll be off soon, not the arm. Good evening, City Council. Good evening, Mayor Grimel. Good evening, Deputy Mayor Stevens and City Clerk, the Pontiac City Clerk. I'm here tonight representing CPRIA. I had planned to be here tonight because we had been very worried. We had had no word from the city for almost a month on the draft modifications to the settlement agreement and modifications. And then last week, we heard the City Council, the presentation to the City Council that the city was going to pay for another cost study for the $400 stipend. Now, this cost study, the CPRIA asked the city to join it in a cost study a year ago, and the city declined to join us, but we did have a cost study on this issue prepared by the firm of Kavanaugh McDonald, and the report has been given to the city. It was shared with the city. We asked the city to comment if they had any concerns, and we had nothing, and I'm not sure that they shared it with you. However, I do have copies of the report. If the City Council would like that report, I'd be eager and happy to share it with you. However, we had been concerned because we had not heard from the city on this modification that the CPRIA attorneys had prepared and given to the city a month ago. But lo and behold, this afternoon, I got an email from our attorneys saying they had just received a red line copy from the city. So I am very optimistic that this is moving forward. We have not had time to review it, but I'm very hopeful that that we can move forward with this. If the city wants another cost study, so be it. They want to pay for another cost study. That's up to the city. But let's not use that as a reason to delay getting this settlement agreement modification completed and filed with the federal court, because this is going to take some time. We have to file for a fairness hearing. We have to do all these things with the federal court. I know the mayor last week said that it would be done by Labor Day. I hope you're right, but let's not have any more delays. I think we really need to go forward. I want to thank the City Council for your sustained interest in getting this finished. I mean, you've really been terrific on this. And I also want to thank Councilwoman Rutherford for her comments last week about let's give the retirees hope, finally, that we can get this done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Fuller. Ms. Billy Swazer.
Hi, I'm Billy Swazer. As many of you know, I used to be a member of CPRA Executive Board, but I am on the Pontiac General Employees Retirement System as a trustee. We talked about this during our meeting. You know, it takes time to get things settled and get them done. Just because you have one actuary doesn't mean the system has to use it. The system has actuaries that they use. It is not Kavanaugh, McDonald. They may be good, but they're not the ones that we use. We have people that we use every year for our costs, for our actuary studies. So I would hope that we go ahead and use the ones that we use now. I mean, the city knows what they have to pay. They don't need me to tell them. I'm sure they know how to run the city. They've been doing it good for these number of years that Mr. Grimal has been the mayor. So I hear all the time from different people, when are we going to get our money? When are we going to get our money? Guess what? It's not in your agreement. It will be in the new agreement that you get with the CPRA, but it's not in the agreement before. So just calm yourself down. Let the state requires that we have an actuary study before money can be passed from one entity to another. So you have to have this cost study, and we have everything in place to move it forward. So it will get moved forward, and whatever time you get your check, it's whatever time you get your check. Please don't call me, because I don't control anybody's money except mine. So you know you're going to get it, and we're going to do it right. And hopefully everybody will be happy when they get it. And if they're not, okay, you get another chance to make your decisions later. But Kavanaugh McDonald was not the one that the GERS board picked. And it is not the one that we've ever used for any of the actuaries work that we have done. And we have work done every year by an actuary. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Swayzer. Ms. Darlene Clark, and then Ms. Gloria Miller.
I see you. Good afternoon again. Ms. Phillips, thank you for clarifying that for me. I have also brought this before the City Council where the power lay. The detain of those people getting their money has never been what the mayor wants you to believe. It has been the city that has been detaining this money. So thank you again, Ms. Phillips. But what I came up here to say, and please be a little patient with me. I'm not at my best today, but please be patient. The bridge, let's talk about the bridge first, and then I go where I got to go. The bridge was shut down. It was shut down because they said, okay, it's not usable. But the longer you let anything shut down, stay down, you cause more corrosion and more problems. Now, the question that I have to have, and a lot of people have been wanting to know this question, the bridge is this, and Mr. Bass had brought it to the attention. When you choose to replace the bridge, because that's what's happening, it's not a repair, it's a replacement, will that train still be able to route up under that bridge? That right there is the main focus of anything when you're in danger. If the city of Pontiac, the bridge was in such danger, why allow the trains to go through or put them at risk? And another thing I want to bring to your attention, and I brought this to Ms. James' attention once before, the city of Flint has 620,000 residents. Pontiac has 60. Flint has 79, a little over 79,000, almost 80,000 residents. Why in the tarnation do you choose to continue to compare us to such a large city that gets such large revenue, to think this is the holy grail and try to fix Pontiac? Council, you are the people to fix Pontiac, to give directions to the administration. Need I keep seeing this over and over and over again, but yet you seem not to take the power in your hand and continue to put it in the mayor and the administration's hands. Look around you. In the years that you've been sitting here on council, our city has not improved. Our conditions of what we live in has not improved. It may seem like that to you because little things being done like the plumbing, the water, and all that. But then you're only catering to investors. You're not catering to the residents. Nothing has been for the resident. The tax breaks in Webster, they have tax breaks. The residents have not gained. The problem is the people want to know, when will the resident gain something? You have shut down the city and the residents is helpless. You have pushed the residents against the wall. Each district that you're responsible for, you have not showed progress. Show the people progress.
Thank you. Ms. Miller?
Okay, I want to try to hit everything in 3 minutes. I'm going to start off with the bridge. Being on the council, MDOT inspects the bridge every year. Why would MDOT sit there and allow us in council, when on the 10th council, and didn't tell us that bridge was that bad? When you guys came into office. See, what you don't understand is the last year that we were in office, MDOT sent out a notification, and I have to find it, where they said the bridge did have some issue, but it wasn't that bad. Maybe $5 million to fix. See, but I never told that stand here, because see, I'm not a person that lie, and I can't stand when people be lying. That bridge was not that bad when we left office. They did inform us that it had some issues, but it was not to the extent of being replaced. Now, me and Ms. Waterman has our issues, but I couldn't believe that she would sit there and let residents go over a bad bridge. All of a sudden, when we get out of office. I'm talking to you, Pontiac. Put it together. Now, let's go to the Charter Commission. I talked to a lot of some of the members outside. I had to go outside, and I talked to those members, and they're younger than me, old enough probably to be some of them mother. I'll explain to them it's not personal with me. But when it comes to the city, I'm all in. And I know for the people that know me in my district, I love them. I got some of them. I know 1 is good, Ms. Weatherford, but I got some beautiful people in 7 too, and 5 as well. I know people from all over this city. We got some good people here. That's why I come down here and fight like I do. I don't have to. I do it because I can. Now, I'm going to go to the charter, what they saying. I have to mention this. It got the public integrity. That's a joke. You got here, the public integrity officer is appointed by the mayor with the approval of the city council. Excuse me, the corruption started with the mayor usually and don't go over to the council. Who gonna govern them? Yes, Gloria Miller said it. And anybody want to call me up. We have a conversation. I know some stuff. Okay? I know some stuff. So public integrity, when you get elected, when you run for that position, your integrity is supposed to be there, right there. You can't make a person do the right thing. You cannot make them, you got to want to do the right thing. They come up there, they run, they lie. Like we just found out that the mayor lied. Thank you, Claudia Fuller, for confirming it. Thank you, who else was it? Mayor Waterman as well. We've been telling you, the mayor been holding this stuff up. He's holding it up. Now, some people say, well, you know what, Gloria, you can't say. The mayor can't beat me up. I'm sorry, he can't. I'm not going to beat him up. I don't hate him. But I don't like his policies, and I don't like what he's doing to the city of Pontiac, and I don't like the fakeness. There's nothing fake about Gloria. I'm for real. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Ms. Patrice Waterman.
Good evening, Council, Executive Office, citizens of Pontiac. What I'm here for is just to give some clarity on this $400 stipend. We've heard a lot of things. I am one of the trustees on the General Employees Retirement System. I sat where you sat. You're sitting for 12 years. I was the liaison person for council who sat on that board. So I know deeply what is going on and as it relates to what's happening here today. What I want you to know today is, yes, we must have an actuarial study, a new one, and it must be performed by the General Employees Retirement Actuarial. The city will pay the cost of that, but it must be done. All those other studies are a moot issue. PA 314, which is a state law, states that the General Employees Retirement System Actuarial must do a cost study. This thing started in 2021. We have lost over 100 members. So that entail would tell you that we need to do a cost study. We told at our board meeting on Wednesday, we gave the mayor as well as our executive director marching orders that everybody needs to sit down, come to that table, and cross all the I's, cross all the T's and dot all the I's. It must be done because there are things in that term agreement that must be clarified. It must be. It's a broad but a good. We voted, the CIPRA board members voted on May the 7th unanimously to approve that. It was done on the 7th. The mayor probably could have brought it to you a little sooner, but it is here now. It is going to be done. We are going to make sure that this is done correctly. We are not going to have to come back. I also stated at that meeting that all parties will have to come to the table, and after we get all that done, a letter needs to go out to every retiree explaining exactly what is entailed in this agreement. So once we get that done, I did speak to the mayor today to let him know. I know that our executive director has sent him a letter where their attorney, our actuary are going to be sitting down to get all this done. And hopefully, this is not going to be something that's going to be done in a minute. It is going to take time because you are talking about millions of dollars. The money that is left that was supposed to be done.
That does conclude your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Waterman. That concludes public comment. President McGinnis.
Thank you. I know that the clerk's office received in writing a submitted public comment from a member of the public that, due to the Americans with Disabilities Act provisions, is not physically able to participate in public comment, but wanted to submit one. Clerk Doyle, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. We received a public comment from Charles Blackwell. Charles Blackwell submitted a public comment expressing concerns about the home repair program signs and criticizing Mayor Grimal. Thank you.
Okay. And that's a matter of public record for those that need to access it. We now are at, that concludes public comment. We are at discussion, number 5 on the agenda. So, in a rare turn of events, we had a special meeting on Friday, and that was for putting in place a new trash hauling or waste management contract for the residents of Pontiac. So we wanted to make sure, since that happened at a special meeting, we wanted to report to you the outcome of that results. So it was Priority Waste was the proposed contract. It's a 10-year term, and also happening, bizarrely, coincidentally, at that same time, GFL, who had been our waste management provider, was also being acquired by Priority Waste, who was the recommended. So it was this dual change, or change was coming regardless. But so our 20-year contract with GFL and its predecessors expired June 30th, so this last weekend. So as of July 1st, we now have a new waste management contract, and I want to give the floor to Mayor Grimal and just have discussions so that way we can make sure that the community is aware. The mayor has sent out some email and social media communications, but Mayor Grimal, if you can share with the community the changes that are afoot.
Yeah, so yesterday was the first day that Priority took over operations, and at least so far, I have not heard of any concerns about that transition. So Priority's been on the job now for 2 days. You will see a mixture of trucks labeled GFL and trucks labeled Priority for a while, because Priority acquired, as the council president indicated, acquired GFL, and so Priority is operating both Priority trucks as well as GFL trucks. So you'll see a combination of names on the trucks for a while, although I think you'll see those trucks transition to at least having the Priority name on them fairly quickly. You may still see different colors on trucks for a while, because I don't think that Priority is necessarily going to repaint the entire GFL truck, but you should see the GFL name change to Priority within the next few months anyway on all of those trucks. In terms of the nature of the contract, we were very fortunate and able to negotiate a very reasonable cost for the city, so there's not any significant cost increase to the city in the first year here, and then there'll be an inflationary adjustment of about 2.5% in subsequent years. We are still leasing the use of the old Collier Road landfill to Priority to be used as a waste transfer station. That's been done for a number of years, and that brings in $1.3 million in revenue that offsets the cost of the garbage collection contract, so that also helps make sure that we're keeping rates low for our residents. And then perhaps most excitingly, unlike past years, we now, with Priority, have weekly bulk pickup. So every week, residents can put out up to 2 bulk items. In the past, it was every other week, which led to a lot of confusion on the part of residents about which week was the bulk pickup week. A lot of bulk pickup items, things like mattresses and the like, ended up sitting out on the curb, sometimes for a week or two. And so this is a big plus, both in terms of the convenience of our residents, but also in terms of reducing that blight by not having bulk pickup items sit on the curbside for a long period of time. So we're very pleased with how this contract has shapen up, and we're very pleased with, so far at least, with how the transition has gone.
Councilwoman Rutherford.
Okay, so we don't have recycling in our contract, whereas every other municipality that Priority serves has recycling in a contract. And in the next 3 years, it's going to be actually mandated that recycling be a part of the trash pickup. I'm giving you all the contents to ask one simple question. Why didn't you guys negotiate that now when in 3 years, in fact, it's going to be state law that recycling or some form of recycling is a part of all trash and pickup? That's my first question. My second question is to the individuals who have called me today about recycling, what do I tell them when we no longer offer these things? I yield to the president to yield to the mayor.
All right, 2 very important questions have been raised. Mayor Grimewood, are you able to take that?
Yeah, I'm not aware of state law being in place requiring curbside recycling within the next 3 years, so that's new to me. That doesn't mean it's not the case. I just have never heard of this state law before. In terms of the possibility of including recycling, we certainly could have included recycling, but as I mentioned last week, that comes with a higher cost, a cost that would be borne by our residents. So it would have increased the cost to our residents in terms of the tax bill, would have added another almost $28 to the annual tax bill. And that's a cost that Priority was not willing to reduce. We tried to negotiate a lower additional fee for recycling. And based on my conversations with residents, they've been very concerned about wanting to maintain an affordable rate. And so I didn't think that most residents in our city wanted to take on a nearly $28 additional annual tax bill in exchange for getting recycling. We have had some residents who have opted in for recycling under the GFL contract, but it's been a relatively small number of households. It's been just a little over 200 households when we have between 15 and 20,000 households who get curbside collection. So that speaks to the fact that most, actually the large majority of residents in the city do not seem interested in paying more for recycling.
Just to clarify, what was shared on Friday is that those who opted in and paid the additional fee for that curbside recycling, which you say there's about 200 residents, that's no longer in this new contract, an offered opportunity. Priority won't be doing those runs for that small number of residents that had opted to do so. Has that been communicated to those residents? Who's doing that communicating, and when is that going out, or are they already started to be left in the dark?
Yeah, we have talked about that to ensure that that communication happens this week to those individual residents by means of a mailing. So we are going to get the word to those residents that that opt-in possibility is no longer available to them. Now, what is still available to residents is bringing recyclables to City Hall to put in a recycling facility, a couple of recycling dumpsters here at City Hall. But you're right, Priority does not allow for opt-in or opt-out. Priority has a model where either everybody is in for recycling and everybody by extension pays for recycling, or nobody's in for recycling at the curbside and nobody pays for it.
Okay, Councilwoman Rutherford on follow-up.
So my follow-up is what I was referring to, and I'll get you the paper because you know I like to present factual things so you can see it for yourself. We still need to figure out a way to help these individuals, whether it's 200, 1,200, or whatever, because they are calling Mayor Grimo, and it wasn't done in the right way. And you guys have a communications office that you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on, and I just would have appreciated that you explained that better to citizens who actually are calling, because at the end of the day, sir, they are. And I just need you to make sure you rectify this as soon as possible so that I don't have to keep saying, well, I don't know why he ain't do it. Ask him. So I just want you to be as punctual as you is about every other event. Be punctual about this information.
Council Pro Tem Carrington.
Well, actually, the mayor in his statement, the second part actually answered my question.
Okay. Further discussion on this topic? Councilwoman James.
Well, I did call. I have also received calls about the recycling, and I was told that the city did not handle the exchanges for the, what do you call it, curbside recycling, that those are contracts between the homeowner and the company. So if anyone did not get their recycling picked up, like in that last week, you would need to reach out to GFL individually. So just wanted to make that clear. And then secondly, no, we don't have recycling in this contract, but I just want to throw out that, you know, this gives us the opportunity to take our time, and really there's no reason why we can't have a separate company to be able to offer curbside recycling for the residents of Pontiac. So that is an option. One of the things that I had requested that we have a presentation with the North Oakland County Resource and Recycling Authority. This is a new authority that's been established in the city of Pontiac. I think Dominique Head was spearheading that. But that authority could establish some kind of a recycling plan for residents. There are any number of ways that we can go about it. What bottom line is, we can still provide a recycling option for residents of the city of Pontiac. It doesn't have to go through Priority.
Councilwoman Rutherford.
I just thank you for saying what I couldn't say, because, you know, it frustrates me when instead of just owning up to what we didn't do well, we try to be defensive. It frustrates me, and then it makes me want to be defensive. So I just appreciate you, Councilwoman James, for saying what it really is instead of hearing what people want it to be. That's all.
Anything else on this discussion? A final note I have is that a big part of the concern that City Council had was the timing in which a substantial and important contract was brought to the City Council with just a few days to spare. So with hours before the contract was to expire, that this very weighty decision was put at the last minute. And to add insult to injury, the contract wasn't even really ready in a substantial way, a finalized way on Tuesday. That's what led us to having to have a special meeting on Friday. That is not the approach that the City Council wants to have taken, so I just want to put that out there. Bold, underlined, tripled, surrounded by trash that's rotting, to emphasize. I was prepared to vote no on contracts that come at that 11th point, 11th hour and 59th minute. But I didn't want to punish the residents, punish my neighborhood, punish the trash collection, because it's just so important. So that's why council went above and beyond, put in the extra time, nose to the grindstone, made sure the crucial elements were there. And I just want to emphasize again, it's been shared to the administration. I just want to share it again to the administration and the community. We expect appropriate and realistic time for the community and the council to be able to kick the tires, find out what's before us, make sure it's the best deal possible, ask and answer questions, and if appropriate, vote it down or ask for amendments. The ability for us to even have amendments done, very compromised by that 11th hour and 59th minute timing. I want to thank the council members who sacrificed their time on a Friday evening to make that special meeting happen, and also all the work you did engaging with the community, researching the issues, researching the subject matter and the other companies and the company that was being considered. So I just want to make that point. And now Councilman Rutherford's going to make another point. So my last point ain't the last point.
No, it's just
Councilman
a question.
Rutherford.
No, this is a question. In the future, can we do a resolution requiring for them to give us our contracts at a certain hour, and if it's not done, that they have to automatically go to the following week? Because I'm saying it for a reason. You just stated earlier, because I listened to what you say, is that we oftentimes I was prepared to vote no as well, because this is a pattern of this administration. So I feel like there needs to be some accountability, saying if you don't get it to us by 3 p.m. on Friday, we ain't voting on it, no matter what it is. And we have the right to say why we're not voting on it, because they have a habit of doing this. This ain't no one time. This ain't no 2 times. I can name like 5 if you want me to. So I'm saying, can't we do a resolution coming up next week for this, to make it so that if they don't give it to us at the end of whatever, what day we, sir, are they supposed to give all the stuff to you? What time are they supposed to give it to you, sir?
It's in the council rules already.
Yeah, but I'm saying to reiterate it, so that maybe they put some stank on it, is what we would say.
Well, that's an option. In this instance, the garbage contract we would then have to go an extra step and sort of override what we've already put out there.
Right.
So it's on us as a council to make those decisions as we're going, and we can certainly take that extra step, but our rules already give us that authority. Our rules already give us that power, and so based on the feedback from council, we'll continue pursuing that, implementing that, requiring that.
Okay.
So the clerk and I and the pro tem, along with city council staff, will work on that. But I don't want us to take a step of a resolution and then we don't honor that resolution every time, because there might be these extenuating circumstances that we as a group say, well, we don't want to screw your residents, we don't want to screw the neighborhood, so.
But at some point, we do have to ask people to be on time, but I'm just saying.
And there are many times when items do get cut from the agenda because they aren't on time.
Okay.
And at this point, the administration often knows that to the point where they're pulling it because something isn't ready.
Okay.
But we'll keep trying to be proactive and diligent on that, and I hear you loud and clear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion on this point? Okay, we are now at communications. There's nothing that's time sensitive prior to our next city council meeting. The next meeting is the regular meeting of next Tuesday, July 9th at 6 p.m., same time and place, no special meeting scheduled. It's about to be closing comments, but what's coming up next is Independence Day. So we wish you a happy, safe, and healthy 4th of July and Independence Day celebrations. That also comes with the state of Michigan allowing for a lot of fireworks, sort of independent fireworks displays. The mayor, can you just emphasize when City Hall will be closed? City offices closed for Independence Day.
Yeah, so City Hall will be closed on July 4th, on Independence Day itself, which is this Thursday. City Hall will be open on Friday, July 5th. So the only day that City Hall will be closed is July 4th itself.
Okay. With that, we're at closing comments. Mayor Grimo, you have the floor.
So 2 things I want to really emphasize. Number one is that the photos of the bridge that were shown tonight were taken when the bridge was shut down. I know there was a comment made about, well, things deteriorated since that point. Yes, things probably have deteriorated since that point. But the severe deterioration that you saw in those photos, that was at the time the bridge was closed. That's when those photos were taken, not a week ago, but back when the bridge was closed. So just so everyone's clear that things were very, very serious and dire at the time of the closure. Secondly, I want to speak to the questions and comments made by Cypria. So I have a lot of respect for Ms. Filler, President Filler of Cypria. I have a lot of respect for Cypria itself. But I really take umbrage at the suggestion that somehow we're dragging our feet on finalizing this thing. Since the term sheet was approved by Cypria and City Council, we waited for a month to get the proposed settlement agreement from Cypria's attorneys. From the date I got them from the city's attorneys, I turned around my feedback within 13 days, which is less than 2 weeks. And we got that to the city's attorneys over a week ago. And they then got that to Cypria's attorneys last week. So if Cypria's attorneys only got that to Cypria today, that's on Cypria's attorneys. But I also want to speak to the question of the actuarial study. It was said that the city wants a new actuarial study. We don't want a new actuarial study. As some of the other public comments reflected, state law requires that whenever there's a change in benefits, that a new cost study is conducted, not by some random actuarial firm, but by GERS, by the pension board itself, and by the pension board's actuarial firm. That is required by state law. And so we're simply following state law in that regard. I would also note that we put negotiations with Cypria on hold for almost a year at Cypria's insistence, because Cypria insisted on going out and having an independent, in their words, an independent actuarial study to be done, even though recent actuarial studies have been done in the past by the city, by the GERS board, and yet things were slowed down and paused actually for almost a year because Cypria insisted on an actuarial study. And that wasn't mandated by law. That's something that Cypria wanted. And so for them now to accuse us of getting an actuarial study when it's required by law, we don't have a choice in this, is really offensive.
I'll give the floor to Deputy Mayor for his option of closing comments, but I just want to say that Mayor Greimel is entitled to his opinion, but does not also speak for the City Council and its 7 members as it relates to not wanting to prove a point or be seen as right or to avoid criticism. We're interested in pursuing a resolution, a solution, and the best outcome for our city's retirees. And I'm grateful to the mayor and Cypria's leadership and the respective attorneys and all the boards and all the members that vote and all that stuff, because we are at the precipice of something good. So your feedback is heard, the mayor's response is heard, but on behalf of the citizens of Pontiac and the City Council, we are thrilled that we are so close to the finish line, and we look forward to celebrating with you and your members about that positive outcome. Deputy Mayor, any closing comments? Yes.
Thank you, Council President. Just a few quick things. The first is July 1, it is, again, tax season. Tax bills are out. From the Treasurer's Office, I want to announce that we have a new system in place. If you actually come to City Hall, you will see posters, and I forgot to bring them with me today. I had them with me on Friday. But you will see posters with QR codes on them. You can actually now scan the QR code and pay your taxes and pay a number of other fees or bills that you may have due to the city electronically. Also, you don't actually have to come to City Hall and scan the QR code. You can actually just go online and pay. But if you're here and there's a long line and you don't want to stand in the line and you want to pay electronically, you can do that, scan the QR code. And the signs are actually in English and Spanish. So if you scan the Spanish sign, all of the language will be in Spanish to facilitate your transaction. The other thing that I would like to say is I would just like to thank our city engineer for coming tonight and sharing the information that she shared. A lot of times we may have disagreements or questions about what's presented to us, but there is a statement that I tell my staff all the time: mechanics exist for a reason, and you are my mechanic. I am putting my faith in you as the mechanic. And so I would just ask that as we listen to different things that are presented, that we are coming from the standpoint of professional opinions and not personal opinions. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Doyle, closing comments?
Thank you, Mr. President. It's been somewhat mentioned, but August 6th is the primary election day. Absentee ballots were mailed out on June 27th. That was the first day by state law that we could begin to mail out absentee ballots. You can now return your absentee ballot directly to the clerk's office or one of our ballot drop boxes. We have ballot drop boxes right outside City Hall, the Bowen Center, the Ruth Peterson Center, and then the fire station on Huron. All ballot drop boxes are accessible 24 hours a day and are under 24-hour video surveillance. If you want to vote in person in the clerk's office, you can do that via absentee ballot Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman James, closing comments?
Yes, I just have one. District 4's next community council meeting will be July 25th, 2024. I've asked our planning manager, Mark Yandrick, to be present at that meeting to talk about the various new businesses that they have approved the planning for in District 4. Some of those businesses have met with some opposition, and there is some concern there in the district around future planning and master planning when it comes to District 4, our commercial districts. So if you're one of the residents in District 4 that have had some concern about recent businesses that have come before planning and have been approved, then I would invite you to be present at next month's meeting, because we definitely want to get into it a little deeper. So with that, thank you and good night.
Thank you, and thank you for your service to the people of the north side of the city and all of the city of Pontiac. Who wants to go next? Okay. Pro Tem Carrington.
Thank you, President McGinnis. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everybody that came out to the District 6 community meeting last week. It was well attended. We got a lot of feedback from the residents concerning the future of the district. So again, I thank you for coming out. Just want to say something concerning where we at as a city. I remember when I first moved to this city, it was barely no code enforcement. If you call City Hall, they'll tell you that something wasn't owned by the city when something was owned by the city. 15 years of that, until I actually got in a seat a few years back, and I was able to get University Avenue cleaned up, get Perry Road cleaned up. I definitely see the improvements. I definitely see the improvements. I see people, neighbors talking to each other again. I see people cleaning up their yards better. And I drive around the 6th District every Friday morning. Relentless every Friday morning. I got a document that I get from code enforcement that has over 400 grass violation names in it. 400. That has never happened previously. Never happened previously. I see City of Pontiac trucks going down blocks. I see them stopping at homes. I see them talking to residents. Yes, they don't write everybody a ticket because they try to talk to the residents. Just like last week when Tammy Cooper called me and it was a resident that couldn't afford to cut her grass. And she went across to the guy across the street that had a tractor, and she explained to him the seniors' issue. And the gentleman quickly went over to the neighbor and cut that neighbor's grass. And this is where we work best as a community, when we collectively working with each other. It's not about, we're not trying to say that we better than the last council or that we better than the last administration. The thing is that right now we have a little more resources than they had. And it's okay, because as long as the city moving forward, those that sit in the seats after us They still got to build upon what we done, just like we had to build upon what the last council done. So it's not about who's the best council, who's the best administration. It's about us working collectively together as residents and seniors and citizens. I'm a resident first. I'm a community activist first. I've been cleaning up the 6th district without a dime or a penny in my check. After I leave Wayne State University School of Medicine at 5:30, and after I get teaching at 2 colleges, I still find time to help in my district. So it's not about, I know for a fact the 6th district looked better than it did when I took office. I know for a fact that we constantly seeing things move in the right direction. It's not perfect, and this council hasn't said it's perfect. We have so much work to do in each district. Also concerning District 2. We fill in for this district because we are supportive of each other. So District 2 is represented. So anybody sent up to the podium and said District 2 is not represented, well, you need to see my voicemail and need to see my text messages because they are represented. And we don't get up here and say, well, we're not going to condemn our council person for being sick. Because, yes, there's some things that may need to be done, but he's still dealing with some health issues. And we have to have compassion on that. And I'm going to have compassion on that. Because if I can go over to the District 2 and talk to some neighbors, I'm going to continue to do that until he's able to represent his district. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for all the work you do to benefit District 6 and the entire city of Pontiac. Councilwoman Rutherford, District 1.
I was hoping you was going to let me go after Bakil, but okay. I wrote this great speech about the 100 retirees that's dead since 2021, but I'm not going to read it. I'm going to speak from the hip tonight. Probably going to get in trouble, but oh well. I just want to see the city I was born and raised in to move forward. It is so frustrating to me when that doesn't happen. I'm starting to lose faith because we still play petty politics instead of just doing the work. I'm not talking about this council, I'm talking about this city as a whole. It is so much stuff going on in this city that we don't speak truth to, but we come down here and we condemn the city council when we could be condemning what's happening in other municipal situations that's happening in this city, and ain't nobody making no noise. I'm trying to keep my name and me out of it, but it's frustrating to me how we pick at every little thing that's wrong instead of looking for a solution. Me included, the mayor as well. We have to find solutions. We have to get tired of, I'm going to show everybody I'm doing the right thing, and I'm going to show everybody I'm speaking truth, and just get it done. I watched this my whole life. I watched it with Walter Moore. I watched it with Wallace Holland. I watched it with everybody I've ever seen in leadership. And at the end of the day, you know who suffered? The citizens suffered. At the end of the day, the citizens don't care whether me and Tim get along. They only care if the city moving forward. At the end of the day, the citizens don't care about what we're going through personally. They just want to see the city move forward. And I just want us to stop it. We are creating the cycles of chaos. Because we're not getting past our own inner issues, our own wannabe pat on the back problems, and just deal with the issues that's going on with our city. I got an email today from a young lady. She's 30 years old. She got 3 kids. Her house just burned down. She's homeless. I don't see nobody moving into action about that. I don't see nobody trying to see that person not be homeless no more. And we could do it as a city. But you know what I'm going to do? What I always do in private and never expose public. And my question is, why can't we as a city move forward? We will give everybody else, mama, their money. But we never help our own. Not enough to me. And this ain't about one-upping nobody. I'm just tired, and I'm just bold enough to say it because I ain't scared of nobody. I know there are people who don't like my style and don't like the way I say things, but I make it about me because I'm from here. And long after I ain't city council and I ain't elected official, I'ma still be male. I still gotta speak truth to it. And I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I'm physically tired of everybody feeling like they got to one up or to defend what you didn't do. If you didn't do it, say you didn't do it. Just tell the truth. If you made a mistake, just tell the truth. But I get so tired. I'm tired. And we have to do better. We have to be the resolution we want to see. We have to be the ones to speak it. We can't just do it and then throw a rock and hide our hand. We got to speak truth to what we haven't done right so we can get it right. And we have to also start giving our residents hope. Because, yes, there are improvements, sir, and I'll never take that away. But my frustration is that it's the other stuff. It's the back end stuff that's getting on my nerves. And I try not to bring it out here, but it pisses me off. That every week I got to, because you make one comment, somebody got to defend themselves. Just let it go. Because if I defended myself on everything people up here have done and said to me, I would not be on council. Lastly, I just want y'all to know we're having a District 1 meeting at the end of the month. It's July 31st. I hope that you guys are blessed and highly favored. Today is this month is Minority Mental Health Month. Make sure you know that you can talk to somebody at 988. You are not alone. May God bless you and keep you. And start being the solution you want to be. And stop always trying to correct yourself so that people will like you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Councilwoman, and thank you for all the work you do for residents of District 1 and citywide. Councilman McHale Goodman, closing comments.
Yeah, so the District 3 meeting for this month is going to be canceled because I will be out of town for a conference for local elected officials in California for that week. So actually, I'll also miss the council meeting for, I believe that's the 23rd.
Of July?
Yes.
Okay.
But hopefully to bring back more information and more things that we can use to make the city better, as has been done. Like some of our housing policy was helped drafted through people who I know from that conference, as well as other things that we've done in the city. So I'm excited to go do that. The dates for a couple other events that are going to be, addressing the needs of the community, like another polio prevention clinic and a laundry day, actually will be coming up soon. So stay tuned for more of those details. And then in the upcoming weeks, actually before I go to the conference, I will be holding a charter review meeting with members of the Charter Commission. So stay tuned for that date. Hopefully I will have that at next week's meeting. That way, if anyone has questions, you can come to that meeting and make them known, because it's a free opportunity to hear about what is in that document. So hopefully everyone who has questions or who has been complaining, who are two separate categories, can show up and hopefully hear more about the charter. But with that, I do say good night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for all you do for residents of District 3 and the entire city. Thank you for your service to the citizens of Pontiac. Councilman Parker, congratulations again to him and his beautiful bride, First Lady Jennifer Parker, on their wedding anniversary. He wanted to share that the next District 5 monthly meeting is on Thursday, July 11th, 5 p.m. at the Lion's Den of City Hall. I think I've got that right. There is also a virtual option as well. Good evening, I'm Mike McGinnis, District 7's representative on the City Council. The next District 7 meeting is this next Monday, July 8th at 7 p.m. from 7 to 9 at Prospect Missionary Baptist Church at the corner of Sanford and Prospect, 351 Prospect Street. Free and open to all, and food and refreshments are provided to help get you through the evening. We're grateful for everyone's time. One of the presentations will be from the entities that are pursuing an option to purchase the Purdue School. And what's been shared by representatives of the Housing Commission is that at this point, they do anticipate it would be a demolition of the Purdue School and a new construction on that site. So we want to make sure that the neighbors in that surrounding area, as well as the entire district, is aware of what they're proposing. So again, that's what the Housing Commission has just shared with me, Mr. Gustafson from their staff, but they and representatives from Sinair will be at the District 7 meeting to give more information about where they stand, what they hope to accomplish, and many other topics that are raised by the residents. I want to finally thank all of the hundreds of residents that submitted Pride and Beautification nominations. That nominations window is now closed as of the end of June. And so now we will be in the process of distributing signs to the winners, and there will be a reception celebrating all the winners in mid-August. More information and invitations to follow to all of the winners, but congratulations to the residents in advance. I want to thank the residents who really went above and beyond this year. This is a high water mark for the number of nominations that were received to the City Council. With that, roll call. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Moved by Carrington.
Second.
Moved by Carrington, seconded by James. Roll call on motion to adjourn. Clerk Doyle.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes?
McGinnis.
Yes.
4 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. We stand adjourned at 9:04 p.m. Have a great Independence Day holiday.